Chapter 1024. As Gu Xingyun's head fell to the ground, some of the guards who were protecting Gu Xingyun began to panic. Assassins! Assassins! The surrounding guards were like a group of headless flies, wandering around randomly. In the process, they caused even more chaos. The seventh elder's head was also cut off. The seventh elder is dead. The eighth elder, what happened to you? Some of the elders of the Gu family were chopped to the ground in the same way. All of their heads were cut off neatly. The people of the Gu family immediately panicked. All of them were in a mess. Who are these people? Qi Yanran and Wan Yulan immediately saw some figures rapidly retreating. Even in such a chaotic situation, they were still able to kill people. Moreover, their retreat was as smooth as flowing water. There was not the slightest bit of delay, and not even the slightest trace was left behind. They just disappeared directly. Over there, Wan Yulan immediately saw a figure standing on a tall building in the distance. She didn't know this figure before. Why did he help at this moment? Those top-notch assassins who had been on the move just now all returned to this person's side after they had finished killing. There were a total of 4 people. Who is that person? Qi Yanran didn't know the person in front of her. The person nodded slightly to Qi Yanran. He directly disappeared from the top of the building with the 4 top assassins. Is he Li Zongjiu's friend? Qi Yanran was surprised. Every time Li Zongjiu acted, it seemed that he was hot-headed and afraid. However, in fact, Li Zongjiu had already made all the preparations. If he was really not sure, why would he bring Qi Yanran to die with him? Qi Yanran's heart gradually calmed down. Being with Li Zongjiu always seemed so hasty, but Qi Yanran didn't regret it in her heart. After all, being able to be with Li Zongjiu was also a very happy thing. Although this guy was usually very busy, the gentleness in his bones could be clearly felt. But, to deal with a supreme expert, are you really sure? Qi Yanran was extremely worried. If it was an ordinary primitive emperor expert, it would be fine, but now they were facing a real supreme expert. A supreme expert that they had never heard of. Even when they came, Qi Shaohun sighed again and again. When he learned that this guy almost trapped Qi Yanran in the Qi family, he didn't want her to come out. However, Qi Shaohun was not a person who was afraid of death. Although he loved his daughter dearly, he loved her even more. If he locked Qi Yanran in the Qi family, she would hate him for the rest of her life. Therefore he simply let her go. After all, Qi Yanran had grown up and had her own ideas. As long as she thought it was right, she would stick to it. Of course, Qi Shaohun was still hoping that Li Zongjiu could defeat a supreme being expert. At least, he could make the royal family members of the Xingyan take action, at least. This was what Qi Shaohun was looking for. In this way they could be saved. Qi Yanran came back to her senses and no longer felt melancholy. If Li Zongjiu was defeated, they would definitely die. In that case, they would take down the Gu family first. Kill the Gu family. Qi Yanran, a Yuan monarch, took the lead. The power of the desolate heaven essence in her hands was too strong. Anyone who got close to her basically couldn't withstand it. Furthermore, the power of the desolate heaven essence was clearly more exquisite in Qi Yanran's hands. It turned into a long whip, easily wrapping around the enemy and then ruthlessly throwing them away. Almost all the elders of the Gu family were dead. Even if there were still some left, they didn't dare to show their faces. As for the surrounding families that came to help, all the leaders were beheaded without exception. These people were so frightened that they quickly retreated. They didn't dare to move forward. They didn't know how many soldiers and horses the mysterious assassin had. In this undercurrent, they unknowingly lost their heads. In such a dangerous and chaotic situation, it was better not to join in the fun. Some people also retreated far away. These people from the Gu family were killed so miserably. They would probably be in trouble next. However, the most important thing was the battle between Li Zongjiu and Gu Zongtian. If Gu Zongtian was defeated, then Li Zongjiu and the rest would be considered as the true victory. Qi Yanran led people to attack the Gu family. Many people from the Gu family also scattered and fled. Some of the so-called elite disciples of the Gu family wanted to form a battle formation to take down Qi Yanran. In the end, they were beaten up like dead dogs and were basically crippled. There were also people from the Gu family who were escaping through a secret passage. The black-winged blood shadow condor directly moved and whizzed out. It killed all the people who took advantage of the chaos to escape. Li Zhongjio brought Gu Zongtian all the way to a sea of trees. Below them was an ancient forest. As long as one left the human race's city for a certain distance, it would basically be the existence of the Zongtian forest. The range of activities of the meta-beasts far exceeded that of the human race. Li Zhongjio and Gu Zongtian released their terrifying auras. The meta-beasts below could obviously feel the deterrence from the two of them. Some of the meta-beasts who were good at digging holes dug holes and escaped. Almost all the meta-beasts were hiding in the caves, shivering and not daring to move. Most of the people from the Gu family should be dead by now. Li Zhongjio stopped and turned to look at Gu Zongtian. At the same time, Gu Zongtian also stopped. He was a little surprised as he had not expected Li Zhongjio's speed to be so fast. Even he could not catch up with Li Zhongjio's speed. This made Gu Zongtian very surprised. Your secret movement skill is not bad. Hand it over. Gu Zongtian said calmly. At the same time, he turned to look in the direction of the Sky Gold City. If one person becomes Buddha, 10,000 people become demons. I have said this before. As long as I, Gu Zongtian, am alive, the Gu family will be alive. Gu Zongtian said slowly. At this moment he finally looked at Li Zhongjio officially. I heard that someone killed a branch of the Gu family in the Holy Flame Royal City. You should be proud to be able to do this at your age. Gu Zongtian said. The 9 heavens of the sovereign realm. There are 3 gates in a day. You are merely at the first heaven and the lower Yuan Gate realm. You are not fit to talk about me. Li Zhongjio shook his head and said calmly. When Li Zhongjio said this, Gu Zongtian was even more surprised. How could Li Zhongjio be able to tell the mystery of the sovereign realm? Even though Gu Zongtian had broken through to the supreme state, he still had to spend many days before he could understand the profoundness behind it. The reason why he had to understand the profoundness behind it was because he had to know clearly what a supreme state was. Only when he stepped into the sovereign realm could he understand the essence of it. Otherwise, he would never be able to understand it. Could it be that Li Zhongjio was also a sovereign realm expert? You are a sovereign realm expert too? Not now. But if I want to kill you, it is more than enough. Chapter 1025. More than enough? These 4 words were just like 4 gigantic mouths that were right in front of Gu Zongtian's face, mocking him continuously. No one knew who gave Li Zhongjio the courage to mock a supreme being expert. Gu Zongtian was able to break through to the supreme realm because he had gathered hundreds of years of resources from the Gu family. Vitality stones, elixirs, and spiritual herbs. He had used countless methods and sacrificed a lot to allow Gu Zongtian to have his current cultivation and breakthrough to the supreme realm. All along, the Gu family had placed all their hopes on Gu Tingnan. They had been suppressed by the Xingyan dynasty. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Now that they had a supreme realm expert, they had the power to challenge the Xingyan dynasty. At least the Xingyan dynasty wouldn't dare to kill the Gu family anymore. They might even need to be on good terms with the Gu family. Otherwise, a supreme realm expert from the Gu family could kill everyone in the royal family, leaving the Xingyan dynasty without a successor. Destroying a royal family was a piece of cake for a supreme realm expert. At least from Gu Zongtian's point of view, an primitive emperor expert was extremely intimidating. But now, a brat who had cultivated for less than 20 years dared to say such harsh words in front of Gu Zongtian. Today, I would like to see how you are going to be more than enough. Gu Zongtian snorted and waved his hand. A terrifying fire python appeared behind him. Li Zhongjio's strength wasn't that simple. Although he didn't know how he did it, the fact that the Great Elder and Second Elder weren't a match for Li Zhongjio was enough to know. Below the Supreme Realm, Li Zhongjio was almost invincible. But whether he could win against a Supreme Realm expert would depend on the situation. Judging from the scene just now, this brat might still have some tricks up his sleeve. This fire python was the primordial fire that Gu Zongtian cultivated. It was the primordial spirit that he cultivated. This primordial spirit that was born from energy was far more terrifying than the energy that came from killing primordial beasts. Ancient and modern towering flames. The intense flames seemed to be burning through space and time. Although the flames seemed to be very far away, it also seemed to be right in front of him. It could burn him at any time, swaying unsteadily in this empty space. The giant python was comprehended by Gu Zongtian from the towering flames, and it became an extremely powerful force in Gu Zongtian's hands. Go! Gu Zongtian didn't waste any time. With a wave of his hand, the towering flaming python twisted its body and charged towards Li Zongjiu. Along the way, the space it passed through was filled with the heat of fire elemental energy. Boom! Like a small world filled with flames, it rushed towards Li Zongjiu. Black Dragon Origin Soul. Li Zongjiu summoned the Black Dragon original spirit from the Black Dragon Hammer. Currently, Li Zongjiu was in the primitive Emperor realm. The Black Dragon original spirit that was summoned was actually similar in size to the supreme-level towering flame python in front of him. Moreover, in terms of aura, the Black Dragon original spirit was clearly superior. In his previous life, the Black Dragon was the supreme being of the Dragon Clan. Even if his realm had fallen, although he had only recovered to the primitive Emperor realm, it was definitely not something that a small snake that had just broken through to the supreme being realm could compare to. The Black Dragon original spirit was filled with lightning as it charged towards the towering flame python. Boom! A shocking shockwave swept out. In the forest below, the trees within 10,000 meters were all broken. Fallen leaves swirled in the air. Other than the tremors further away, there were blazing flames. It encompassed the area within a radius of 10,000 meters. Dragon Clan Origin Soul? This is what you are relying on? Gu Zongtian didn't recognize that the Black Dragon in front of him was the supreme being of the Dark Dragon Clan. He only treated it as a more precious origin beast that had the bloodline of the Dragon Clan. However, when he saw that the primordial spirit of the Dark Dragon Clan was on par with his towering flame python, he was immediately shocked. How is this possible? There was an entire realm gap between the two of them. It wasn't easy to make up for it. In fact, it was impossible to bridge the gap between them. If it was so easy to make up for the difference, why would there be such a huge difference in realms? The two beasts had just woken up. They fought until the sky turned dark. Gu Zongtian took advantage of this gap to release his own realm power. Immediately, Li Zongjiu was drawn into a world filled with flames. It was like the inside of a volcano. The blazing energy in the surroundings seemed like it could melt a person at any moment. After killing Li Zongjiu, the Black Dragon original spirit naturally collapsed without a fight. There was no need to continue fighting. Since Li Zongjiu was so stubborn, he would spend more effort to send Li Zongjiu on his way. Within the realm, there was a huge wave formed by flames that slammed down on Li Zongjiu. Boom! Boom! The terrifying energy slammed down on Li Zongjiu. However, Li Zongjiu stood still on the spot as if he was locked on. A roar could be heard in the realm. Then, a golden figure dashed out from the flames in the sky. Just the energy on his body seemed to be carefully crafted. Every scale was perfect and dazzling. The Golden Dragon original spirit brought Li Zongjiu out of the sea of flames. Twin original spirits. When he saw Li Zongjiu releasing another Golden Dragon original spirit to protect his body, even Gu Zongtian was shocked. He never expected Li Zongjiu's talent to be so terrifying. Moreover, the second original spirit was also from the dragon race. Could it be that Li Zongjiu had been to Dragon Island before? Or did he have some kind of contract with the dragon race that he could use two original spirits from the dragon race to protect his body? Mountain Flipping Golden Seal. Pagoda Palm. Two Saint Realm primordial skills were used. Two palm prints slammed down on Gu Zongtian in front of him. The swift and violent power continued to condense, shaking off the surrounding flames. Boom! Gu Zongtian was thrown out of the realm by the two palms. However, after Gu Zongtian fell out of the realm, he didn't land on the ground. Instead, he was kept into Blood Soul Hell by Li Zongjiu. When Gu Zongtian's figure appeared in Blood Soul Hell, he came to his senses and realized that he had been kept in Li Zongjiu's realm. Boom! Countless blood ghosts rushed towards Gu Zongtian. They surrounded Gu Zongtian. Among them were the life and death servants that Li Zongjio had just refined. The energy of the life and death servants was returned to them by Li Zongjio. However, when the life and death servants and the blood ghosts rushed out of Blood Soul Hell, they were instantly flattened by Gu Zongtian's energy. Boom! The energy of Blood Soul Hell was instantly shattered. The strong impact broke Blood Soul Hell apart. Li Zongjio retracted the energy of Hell in time. Otherwise, it would take a lot of time and effort to build Blood Soul Hell again. Li Zongjio didn't want to do it again. You want to trap me with your realm? Dream on. Don't forget that I am in the Supreme Realm. After saying that, Li Zongjio and Gu Zongtian returned to Gu Zongtian's volcano realm. Gu Zongtian controlled the flames and turned them into fiery palms that slammed towards Li Zongjio. Under the protection of the Golden Dragon original spirit, Li Zongjio was unharmed. However, if this continued, Li Zongjio would definitely be defeated. He had to end this quickly. 3 dragons in 1. Original spirit possession. In an instant. Blood Dragon, Golden Dragon, White Dragon. The energy of the 3 original spirits poured into Li Zongjio's body at the same time. Evil Soul Eye. Gu Zongtian's eyes couldn't help but be attracted by Li Zongjio. If it was an ordinary Evil Soul Eye, it might not be able to attract Gu Zongtian's attention. However, with the support of the White Dragon original spirit, at that moment, Li Zongjio's mental strength was at least comparable to a 5th stage origin emperor. With the help of the uniqueness of Evil Soul Eye, Gu Zongtian's godly soul was fixed on the spot. Chapter 1026. The Evil Soul Eye could only control Gu Zongtian for a moment. After all, Gu Zongtian had the sovereign qi protecting him. Gu Zongtian had yet to fully integrate his strength into the sovereign realm. Otherwise, Gu Zongtian's body would be the supreme body. It was extremely difficult for ordinary powers to break through it. Li Zongjio's current move was considered to be the strongest he could muster. His elemental energy was depleted. What he could use was his own body's power. Li Zongjio rushed out and punched Gu Zongtian's body. Half of Gu Zongtian's body was smashed into pieces. Boom! Gu Zongtian's body exploded on the spot. However, Gu Zongtian didn't die. His important organs were protected by the supreme energy. Li Zongjio stretched out his hand and was prepared to dig out Gu Zongtian's heart. However, Gu Zongtian had already regained his consciousness. He grabbed Li Zongjio's hand and flung Li Zongjio away. Bam! Li Zongjio's energy was depleted. After being flung by Gu Zongtian, he fell to the ground and created a huge pit. He was buried in it. At this moment, Li Zongjio had also lost his elemental energy glow and was lying in the mud like a mortal. Li Zongjio's mouth moved and he swallowed an elixir that was hidden in his mouth. Gu Zongtian looked at the half of his body that was destroyed. His skin and flesh were destroyed. The rest of his body was protected by his supreme energy. If his heart was dug out by Li Zongjio, he would probably be dead. This lad has a lot of tricks up his sleeves. Gu Zongtian put on a new set of clothes for himself. Similarly, he broke out in cold sweat. Fortunately, he was strong enough. If he hadn't broken through to the sovereign realm, he wouldn't know how many times he would have died in Li Zongjio's hands. This brat was truly a scourge. He had to be completely eliminated. How is it? What other tricks do you have? Just use them. Gu Zongtian's figure appeared beside the huge pit Li Zongjio was in. He looked down at Li Zongjio from above. His eyes were filled with mockery. Obviously, in his eyes, Li Zongjio was already a complete piece of trash who could no longer pose a threat. After all, it was impossible for that move not to consume or injure him. Li Zongjio was not a god either. There was a limit to his power, and it was impossible for him to use it without a limit. To be able to force a supreme being into such a state was already something to be proud of. But Gu Zongtian wouldn't let this matter leak out. Because the Li Zongjio in front of him could not continue to live. It was a dead end. Then I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. I still have quite a few tricks up my sleeve that I haven't had the time to use yet. The smile on Gu Zongtian's face froze. In the deep pit, Li Zongjio's figure had already disappeared. Before Gu Zongtian turned his head, he heard a loud boom. Li Zhongjio's Fury Dragon Catcher was destroyed. This was the power of a super-grade Fire Vulture crystal. It was enough to destroy the other half of Gu Zongtian's body. Boom! The clothes that Gu Zongtian had just changed into were instantly destroyed. At the same time, his appearance under the clothes was revealed. Gu Zongtian immediately felt that his power was depleted. His body was severely injured. And Li Zhongjio summoned the Black Dragon Hammer back. The towering flaming python lost its target and started to spin around. Although it finally realized that it was going to charge towards Li Zhongjio, it was too late. The Black Dragon Hammer appeared in Li Zhongjio's hands. Facing Gu Zongtian, who was severely injured and unable to move, he smashed down with his hammer. Bam! Gu Zongtian flew out from the impact. The towering flaming python's state dissipated instantly. Because Gu Zongtian had suffered a severe blow, his power dissipated and he was unable to maintain the towering flaming python state. Trash! Li Zhongjio held the hammer in his hands and walked towards Gu Zongtian slowly. Gu Zongtian laid on the ground. He had lost all his power and couldn't move at all. He could even be described as dying. When the hammer smashed down, it had already destroyed part of Gu Zongtian's internal organs. He had become a useless person. Gu Zongtian had never thought that a few days ago, he could be said to be the most dazzling person in the entire Jin state. The most dazzling person. Thousands of gazes were on Gu Zongtian. Even the future glory of the Gu family depended on Gu Zongtian's leadership. In the blink of an eye, he had become a defeated opponent under Li Zhongjio's hammer. This made Gu Zongtian sigh in his heart. Why did such a thing happen? This Li Zhongjio, he had never thought of provoking him. In actual fact, Gu Zongtian didn't care about the situation of the Gu family in the Holy Flame Royal City. He had never thought of finding trouble with Li Zhongjio. Because in his eyes, Li Zhongjio wasn't qualified for him to find trouble with him. But he had never expected. Li Zhongjio had found him and even beat him to such a state. What else was there to say? Nothing could escape from fate. Let me off. My Gu family, the Gu family will submit to you. Gu Zongtian turned around with difficulty and said to Li Zhongjio. At this moment he no longer had the slightest bit of strength. He was just like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. He could only obediently wait for death in front of Li Zhongjio. Whether he lived or died, it was all up to Li Zhongjio. If you had such an attitude from the start, I wouldn't have minded. Li Zhongjio sighed helplessly. If you had such an attitude from the start, wouldn't it have been better? Let's not talk about you now. Most of the people in your Gu family are already dead. They have no value. Li Zhongjio shook his head. Go on your way in peace. After saying that, Li Zhongjio smashed down with his hammer. Gu Zongtian fell to the ground and his limbs twitched. You haven't even turned into the body of a sovereign and you are already so difficult to deal with. If I give you more time, it won't be easy for me to kill you. Li Zhongjio hammered a few more times. But Gu Zongtian still had a weak aura. He hadn't died yet. Therefore, he had to be very careful when dealing with sovereign-level experts. If he wasn't careful, they would run away. Moreover, he might come back to life on his own. Unless it was someone who was at the same level of cultivation, it would be the most thorough. Go! Li Zhongjio flicked his finger and the soul-summoning beast swayed its body and charged towards Gu Zongtian. Using his mystique, he extracted Gu Zongtian's soul. Refining this guy's soul is enough to help me break through my mental strength. Li Zhongjio thought to himself. He had lost his strength. Gu Zongtian's body was no longer protected by his strength. Li Zhongjio smashed the latter's heart with his hammer and plucked Gu Zongtian's head off. At the same time, he took Gu Zongtian's storage ring. TSK, as expected of an ancient family. Even I am jealous of their collection. The ring on Gu Zongtian's hand wasn't any lower than the Southern Nation ring. Therefore, Li Zhongjio kept the ring on his hand. It was a pity that the design wasn't suitable. Otherwise, Li Zhongjio would have given it to Qi Yanran. A ray of light broke through the sky. Li Zhongjio sat on the ground with a thump. His strength was supported by elixirs just now. At this moment he was completely exhausted. Sitting on the ground, Li Zhongjio's vision turned black and he fainted as well. 3 black figures in the sky quickly approached. The Eagle battleship and the Black-winged Blood Shadow Condor. Li Yun and the rest were on the battleship. When they saw the forest below, their eyes were filled with shock. Within a radius of 10,000 meters, not a single blade of grass grew. Even the air was filled with turbulence. The remnants of energy made it difficult for the Eagle battleship to get close. Oh my God, what exactly happened here? When Li Yun found Li Zhongjio in the sky, she jumped down and brought Li Zhongjio onto the battleship. Chapter 1027. Heavenly Gold City. Gu family. It was as if they had gone through a cruel battle. Smoke rose from every corner of the Gu family. Most of the Gu family's territory had been reduced to ruins. It was the first time Qi Yanran led people to attack a family, and it was such a scene. Most of the Gu family members who could not escape had already surrendered. They could only hope that the family head would come back to save them. There were corpses everywhere in the Gu family. It was not an exaggeration to say that corpses were everywhere. Kuan Arashir was also seriously injured. His body was covered in bandages. They were used to suppress his wounds. Kuan Arashir was sitting on the steps, and beside him was a spear covered in blood. There were people around him on guard. After a night of battle, there were many sneak attacks. So basically, everyone was injured. Even the Liangshan brothers were injured, and the primitive emperors were no exception. Qi Yanran's condition was the best, and she was not injured. Because everyone's main goal was to protect Qi Yanran. The Liangshan brothers were injured because they were protecting Qi Yanran. Moreover, there were an unknown number of top-notch assassins protecting her in the dark. Even in such a dangerous situation, they had to ensure Qi Yanran's safety. So Qi Yanran was only exhausted. Of course, most of the experts had died under the desolate heaven essence. Now, the Gu family was under control. Although the White Deer Manor had lost some men, it was a complete victory in comparison. Of course, the White Deer Manor's composition seemed simple, but it was not. There were 2 powerful forces in the Haiku dynasty. The top-notch assassins of the Guzong family and the genius spirit master from the Marquis of Wanyong. The combination of these 2 forces was not simple at all. Li Zhongjio had killed many of the opponent's experts from the beginning. The Great Elder, Second Elder, and Third Elder were all killed by Li Zhongjio. There was nothing much to say about this. The Gu family was weak and empty. This was probably the first time they had been besieged. They did not have enough time to prepare. They were killed and all of them were wiped out. At this moment, Wan Yulan and Qi Yanran were resting in the main hall of the Gu family. The rest of the experts were on guard around. There was also a group of people who were searching to see if there were any fish that had escaped the net. All those who had surrendered were locked up in a courtyard. The fate of these people was still unknown. It's already dawn, Zhongjio. Qi Yanran's heart tightened. Until now, there had been no news and no movement at all. How could Qi Yanran feel at ease? He could only wait here. It's a good thing that there's no movement. At the very least, it proves that the head of the Gu clan is unable to deal with Li Zhongjio. Wan Yulan stepped forward and said, "In a battle between experts, the outcome could be decided very quickly or very slowly. Before they used all their means, it was very likely that they would not even know how long it would take. Li Zhongjio was able to delay a supreme being for so long. It was beyond Wan Yulan's imagination. The longer the battle dragged on, the stronger Li Zhongjio was. As long as Li Zhongjio continued to persevere, there might be more unexpected situations. Li Zhongjio might even kill Gu Zongtian." Thinking of this, Wan Yulan shook his head. This was almost impossible. If he could do this, wouldn't Li Zhongjio be equivalent to an primitive emperor expert? Just as Qi Yanran and the rest were waiting, another group of people rushed over from Sky Gold City. They directly charged into the Gu clan. Yanran, Qi Shaohun and a few elders appeared above the Gu clan. They directly found Qi Yanran and the rest. When the surrounding people saw that they were from the Qi clan, they put down their weapons. "Father? Why are you here? And elder you, why are you here?" Qi Yanran did not expect that. Her father would appear in front of her. "I have already passed the position of the clan head to the great elder temporarily. I brought these elders to help you. I thought that no matter how bad it is, I would have to protect your life. Qi Shaohun saw that Qi Yanran was unharmed. His anxious heart was finally at ease. Previously on the way here, he had been imagining it and he was extremely anxious. He had even prepared for the worst. However, when he walked into the Sky Gold City, he was completely dumbfounded. They actually charged into the Gu clan's base camp. And they took it down completely. The experts of the Gu clan were almost all dead. With the manpower that Li Zongjio brought over, it was hard to imagine and even hard to believe. Even if he saw it with his own eyes, he would not dare to believe it. The #1 clan in Jin region was defeated just like that, and from the looks of it, it seemed to be a complete and utter defeat. From what he saw, the fighting power of the people of White Deer Manor was stronger than expected. No, it could be said that the people of the Gu clan were much weaker than expected. Where is Li Zongjio? Seeing that Qi Yanran was fine, Qi Shaohun was relieved. Looking at the surrounding scene, his heart was still in a state of shock. I don't know where Zongjio and the Gu clan head are fighting. When Qi Yanran said that, there was deep worry in her eyes. I don't know where they are? Qi Shaohun was stunned. The news of the Gu clan head breaking through to the sovereign realm had already spread throughout the Xingyan dynasty. Now that Li Zongjio was not killed by the other party, and they did not know where he was fighting, it meant that Li Zongjio at least had the strength to fight head-on with the other party. When did they fight? Last night until now it has been 4 hours. Qi Yanran said. 4 hours? Could it be that the two of them are evenly matched and are in a stalemate? Qi Shaohun was stunned. This scene seemed to be somewhat interesting. The terrifying thing about the Gu clan was that the Gu clan head was in the sovereign realm and the group of primitive emperor realm elders under him. But now, along the way, they found that the elders of the Gu clan were all dead. As for the Gu family's patriarch, he had gone somewhere to fight with Li Zongjio and had yet to return. The situation was still unclear. But at least, it was not Gu Zongtian who carried Li Zongjio's corpse back. If that was the case, Qi Yanran and the rest would not have survived until now. That lad might really be able to kill a sovereign realm expert. Qi Shaohun could be considered as someone who had seen Li Zongjio's miraculous abilities. To be able to do such a thing, it was beyond everyone's expectations. Only Li Zongjio could do that. Until now, they had not seen Li Zongjio being at a disadvantage. He was really an invincible existence. If they were not convinced, they would just fight. God knows how many impossible enemies they had defeated. Before they came, Li Zongjio had prepared elixirs for them. With the Qi family head overseeing the place, some of them had diverted a portion of their attention to recuperate. Although they could not let down their guard completely, at least they did not have to be tense all the time. At noon, Li Zongjio stepped on a black-winged blood shadow condor and landed on the city walls of Sky Gold City. At the same time, he hung a head at the entrance of Sky Gold City. Although the hair was messy and there were bloodstains all over, anyone could tell at a glance. This was the head of the Gu clan head, Gu Tian. Gu Zongtian was dead. Forget it, I'll add one more chapter. As long as I have the monthly votes, I'll do anything. Chapter 1028. Gu Zongtian's head was hung above the city gate. No one dared to stop such a blatant act of venting his anger. No one even dared to say anything. When the guards of the Sky Gold City saw this, they all hid far away. They knew very well what was going on in the Sky Gold City. No one dared to say anything. They didn't know what was happening in the city. Li Zongjio landed in the Gu family. Qi Yanran and the rest didn't disappoint him. They took down the Gu family. Boom! The black-winged blood shadow condor flapped its wings, creating a huge wave of dust. The people who were trapped in the courtyard of the Gu family saw that it was Li Zongjio who had returned. They felt a chill in their hearts. Why didn't the family head come back? Why did only Li Zongjio come back? The main point was that Li Zongjio came back alive. It was even more shocking. They couldn't believe their eyes. Quiet down. Seeing that the members of the Gu clan had actually become a little chaotic, someone immediately roared out. The long whip in his hand was directly lashed out and ruthlessly lashed onto the bodies of these people. Slap. The number one family in the Jin state was reduced to a prisoner. This situation also made people sigh endlessly. Zongjiu. When Qi Yanran saw Li Zongjiu, she pounced on him and hugged Li Zongjiu. She was afraid that she wouldn't be able to see him again after last night. If that was the case, Qi Yanran wouldn't commit suicide so easily. She would wait until she had the chance to kill Li Zongjiu's enemy before following in his footsteps. Now that she could see Li Zongjiu come back safe and sound, Qi Yanran was naturally pleasantly surprised. "It's been hard on you." Li Zongjiu patted Qi Yanran's back and comforted her. Not only did Qi Yanran help Li Zongjiu take down the Gu family, she was also worried about his safety the entire night. But this feeling of being cared for by someone was indeed very good. In his previous life, Li Zongjiu could only rely on himself when he was in a life-and-death battle. He couldn't even rely on some of his friends. Now, at least someone cared about Li Zongjiu's life and death. This made Li Zongjiu feel warm in his heart. However, this wasn't the time to be intimate. There were so many people watching. "Family head Qi, I didn't expect you to come." Li Zongjiu saw that Qi Shaohun was also here. Clearly, there was a trace of astonishment in his eyes. Right now, he was going to deal with the number one clan in the Jin prefecture. Moreover, it was also one of the four great clans. Since Qi Shaohun dared to come, it meant that he was prepared to die. "Brat, if you dare to put my daughter in such a dangerous situation again, I will definitely not let you off," Qi Shaohun said angrily. Originally, Qi Yanran was a good girl in the Qi family. However, after meeting Li Zongjiu, she was directly led astray. Now, she even dared to bring these old birds of the underworld to attack the Gu family. You have to know that these people in the Jianghu have no principles at all. They may be on the same side as you now, but if you lose in a while, they'll be the ones who suffer a defeat. If you are defeated, you will be betrayed in minutes. These were all very normal things. Therefore, when working with these people, one had to be careful. These people, who dared to say that they weren't careful and were ready to run away at any time. Qi Yanran's actions were too risky. "Yanran is my family. Whoever wants to hurt my family will have to step over my dead body first," Li Zongjiu said faintly. Qi Yanran's heart pounded when she heard it. However, when Qi Shaohun heard it, his face suddenly became strange. "Damn it. I haven't agreed yet, and you dare to kidnap my daughter from my side." However, Qi Shaohun didn't say anything. It was naturally the best that Li Zongjiu could treat Qi Yanran as a treasure. And now, Li Zongjiu had even killed a supreme being. This guy's strength could no longer be judged with normal eyes. There must be an extremely strong backing supporting Li Zongjiu. Qi Shaohun didn't ask much about Li Zongjiu's secret. No matter whether Li Zongjiu was a good or bad person, as long as he could be good to Yanran, it was enough. As a father, he didn't expect anything. Although the Gu family's base has been attacked by you, the Gu family has deep roots. It's impossible to kill them all. What are you going to do next? After the romance, he dared to do some serious business. Not to mention the distant ones, there were still so many captives in the backyard. Li Zongjiu and the others came to the backyard. Hundreds of people were imprisoned here. There were also a few fierce people around with bows and arrows, staring at these people. They also knew that it was impossible for them to escape. If there were any strange movements and they were caught, their end would be very tragic. These people were not kind people. The Gu family had been peaceful for so many years, and they had long been numb. They always knew that they were the strongest in this area, and had never experienced such a life as a prisoner. "All of you can leave. From today onwards, I, Li Zongjiu, will use all my strength to hunt down the remnants of the Gu family. If anyone continues to call themselves part of the Gu family after walking out of this door, I will not let them go. If you are honest and know your place, I will naturally not pursue this matter. If you want to take revenge on me, feel free to come," Li Zongjiu said faintly. Glancing at these people in front of him, even these people of the Gu family didn't react. Li Zongjiu just let them go? It was that simple. Releasing the tiger back to the mountain? First of all, you had to be a tiger. They were just a bunch of sick cats. What was there to be afraid of? The Gu family had deep roots, but Li Zongjiu had already arranged for Yun Qi to lead people. He directly went to take the heads of all the important people of the Gu family scattered in various places. Since he was going to do it, he naturally had to do it thoroughly. In less than half a month, no one in this world would dare to call themselves a member of the Jin province's Gu family. Not only did he have to kill, but he also had to destroy their hearts. He had to completely destroy the Gu family's prestige. He had to completely wipe out all the members of the Gu family. Send out a notice for me. Have the clan leaders of the top 10 clans in Skygold City come for a meeting. It will be held in the Skygold Pavilion. Li Zongjio said to the Liangshan brothers. The two of them immediately went out. What a big tone. He directly had the clan leaders of Skygold City and first-rate cities come here for a meeting. It's obviously a Hongmen banquet, but if you didn't come, you would have to consider the consequences. Keep the corpses of our brothers well. Return to the sacred flame imperial city and bury them. If they have families, bring them back to their families for a proper burial. In addition, for those who died in battle, each family will be compensated with 100,000 purple yuan. Everyone who is still alive, return to the manor. Those who are Yuan kings will receive 3 high-grade 5th-grade elixirs. Those who are Yuan emperors will receive 2 grade 6th-grade elixirs. The rewards given by Li Zongjio made these people who were bathed in blood happy. What money? It was too vulgar. Elixirs were the only reason why these people chose to join the White Deer Manor. Only Li Zongjio would be able to offer such a reward as a 6th-grade pill. Even Qi Shaohun and the others were extremely moved when they heard this. If they had known, they would have followed Li Zongjio in the beginning. Now they were too late. They didn't even have time to drink a mouthful of soup. Chapter 1029. The people of the Gu family were dispersed. The people of the Gu family had been driven away directly. However, all the property of the Gu family was left behind. Li Zongjio ordered the person called Mao Jiang to sort out these things and calculate them. After all, if such a thing was handed over to an primitive emperor expert, it was more or less beneath his dignity. To be able to take on such a task was also a kind of honor for Mao Jiang to be put in an important position by Li Zongjio. Immediately, he went to check and calculate these things very diligently. It was not a problem to hide some of them. However, if he embezzled too much, it would be exposed sooner or later, even if Li Zongjio did not investigate. Would you have the guts to be arrogant in front of an expert who could kill a supreme master? How dare you think of doing something under the hands of such a person? Don't lose the big picture for the small. Otherwise, the consequences would be very serious. Li Zongjio helped Qi Yanran to recuperate her body. The people below had already started to count the losses and gains of this battle. They reported all the numbers in a unified manner. How did you do it? You can actually kill a supreme master. Qi Yanran looked at Li Zongjio, extremely shocked. Even for Qi Yanran, this matter was very shocking and hard to believe. It was difficult for her to come out of the shock. For Li Zongjio's magical ability, she could only express incomparable surprise. You will in the future too. Li Zongjio said. The Gu family is a big tree with deep roots. It is not so easy to trip them up. Letting them go is a very hidden thing for us. Qi Yanran said worriedly. The Gu family occupied the entire Jin province, and the scope of their influence was extremely wide. It was not clear how many tricks they had left behind. Perhaps there were some extremely cruel plans, and they were ready to perish together with the enemy at any time. Don't worry, we don't have to do anything. Naturally, someone will deal with them. Li Zongjio said. So what if the tree has deep roots? When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. Now that Gu Tongten, this big tree, had already fallen, the people below probably couldn't even take care of themselves anymore. They were used to being overbearing in the Jin region. Next, Li Zongjio would place a bounty for the head of the Gu family. Because today, Li Zongjio had already announced that the Jin province's Gu clan would no longer exist. Anyone who called themselves the Jin province's Gu clan would be viewed as an enemy of the White Deer Manor. New grudges and old grudges, in addition to the huge bounty, the Gu family would only continue to decline. In the Jianghu, White Deer Manor's reputation was established. In the vast Jianghu, who didn't know the name of White Deer Manor? After today, the world would be shocked. 1,000-year-old family, Gu family. Today, they were destroyed by White Deer Manor. The head of the Gu clan's supreme martial artist, Gu Tungtian, was hung at the entrance of Skygold City. Tens of thousands of people saw it with their own eyes. Inside Skygold City, ordinary people didn't feel much. As long as the Gu family didn't lead Skygold City to betray them, other things wouldn't affect these ordinary people and wouldn't affect their lives. But those families who had helped the Gu family last night and those families who were in the meeting with the Gu family's third elder all had a headache. It was obvious that Li Zongjio was a ruthless person. And this time, he wasn't here to simply destroy the Gu family. He was here to look for resources. Just some of the businesses that the Gu family had in the Jin region was already a huge sum. To be able to survive until now, one could see how strong the Gu family was. Now, Li Zongjio didn't just want to take over the Gu family. He wanted to take over the entire Skygold City. Before heading to the Skygold Tower for the meeting, the patriarchs of several clans in the Skygold City had already begun a secret meeting. In the city, other than the Gu family, there were 3 other families who had a closer relationship with each other. The Han family, the Huang family, and the Wen family. These 3 families were all in the food industry. Hence, they had a closer relationship with each other. Hence, after such a thing happened, the 3 of them hurriedly gathered together. What do you think this Li Zongjio is trying to do? His forces aren't rooted here. Could it be that he wants to take our money? The Wen family leader said. He was obviously furious. After a wolf left, another tiger came. It was even harder for them to accept such an outcome. Sigh, I'm like a fish on the chopping block. I reckon that a lot of people will suffer tonight. Let's go and see what tricks this Li guy wants to play. If this guy has some brains, he won't do anything to us. The Huang family leader said. Obviously, he was also very hesitant about this matter. No one would have thought that such a thing would happen. The originally stable order was broken today. But perhaps this was a good thing. At the very least, the dark cloud hanging over the Jin region had been completely removed. Without the Gu family in the future, it would naturally be easier for these families to stand out. They would also have a higher cultivation base and could stand out from the rest. In the future, they wouldn't be restricted by the Gu family. What would happen next would depend on their own abilities. What else can this brat want? It's just money. Prepare the money. The Han family leader sneered. The other 2 looked at each other. Under such circumstances, if they could use money to send Li Zongjio away, they would be willing to spend any amount. After all, it was only a one-time thing. They were only afraid that Li Zongjio wouldn't be willing to leave. On the same night, the 10 family leaders gathered in front of the Golden Heaven Pavilion. Because they didn't specify the time. Hence, these people were already here when the sky turned dark. However, they didn't dare to casually enter before everyone was here. The outer wall of the Golden Heaven Pavilion that was damaged by the aftermath of the previous battle had been repaired. It was Li Zongjio who asked Kun Erishur to help him repair it. Now, the Golden Heaven Pavilion was directly under Li Zongjio's protection. Of course, it had to be repaired properly. Everyone, please come in. Mao Jiang walked out and invited these big shots of the Golden Heaven City to enter. One must know that aside from the Gu family, these people could be considered as the sky of the Golden Heaven City. Even last night, there were many people from these families who took action. However, they all ran far away. Running away when the situation turned bad was their strong suit. However, there were also people from several families who participated in the assassination at Walnut Ridge. Of course, the final outcome was obvious. In order to cover up their previous actions, they quickly elected a new family leader. If Li Zongjio had mentioned it a little and then came to settle old scores, then these families would all be in big trouble. A group of people walked in and arrived at the main hall of the Golden Heaven Pavilion. Li Zongjio's men weren't present in the Golden Heaven Pavilion. Only a few stayed behind to do odd jobs. Chapter 1030. Although there weren't many of them, they were filled with murderous intent. Qi Yanran didn't participate in such an occasion. Instead, Kun Erishur sat beside Li Zongjio. Family heads, please take a seat. serve the wine, Li Zongjio said. Then, the 10 of them sat down in order. Their status was very obvious. Those who sat at the front were naturally a little stronger. Before I came, I always heard that the Gu family was domineering. But after I came, I didn't see it, Li Zongjio said. That one sentence was enough to display his domineering aura to the fullest. The Gu family had been in the Jin region for so many years. Even the Xingyan dynasty's royal family couldn't do anything to them. Instead, Li Zongjio came and wiped out the Gu family's many years of foundation. Now, he was going to take over everything. The Gu family is just a group of bandits. Young Master Li, you are the real tyrant. The Wen family head's mouth twitched. Since it had come to this, he had to flatter him. Li Zongjio smiled. I don't dare to call myself a tyrant. But the Gu family is a group of bandits. Our White Deer Manor has come all the way to Skygold City to exterminate the bandits for you. We have sacrificed a lot. As the masters of Skygold City, you should at least show some appreciation. Li Zongjio knocked on the table. Kuan Erasure had seen Li Zongjio's extortion skills. Generally speaking, once you were targeted by Li Zongjio, you could forget about living a good life. If you were willing to spend money to block the disaster, it would be over quickly. But if you were unwilling to part with this piece of meat, there would be a bigger disaster waiting for you in the future. Kuan Erasure immediately took out a book and placed it on the table. Then, he looked at the Wen family head who had just spoken. He seemed to be waiting for the Wen family head to say a number first. The Wen family head didn't expect Li Zongjio's extortion method to be so direct. Without any preparation, he was about to hand in the numbers. This, young Master Li, I came in a hurry and didn't have much time to prepare. How about this? No matter how much damage your White Deer Manor suffered, we will definitely do our best to make up for it. The head of the Wen family was also very experienced. He didn't say a number directly. Otherwise, no matter what number he said, it wouldn't be appropriate. It wouldn't be good if it was too high, and it wouldn't be good if it was too low. Alright, I've already calculated for you. Give each family 2 billion purple yuan. I'm a very honest person. Li Zongjio said with a smile. What? 2 billion? A few people at the back did not sit properly. They stood up immediately and stared at Li Zongjio with wide eyes. Their eyes were clearly saying that if he had to pay so much money, he might as well kill him directly. Is it too little? Just give the 3 who stood up just now 5 billion each. Li Zongjio said. 5 billion. This was simply asking for a sky-high price. Li Zongjio, don't think that just because you destroyed the Gu family, you can do whatever you want in Skygold City. I don't believe that if we don't hand over the money, you can kill all of us. The person who stood up was obviously prepared to go all out. Since he was going to die anyway, he might as well be firm. It would be best if he could unite everyone's strength and beat Li Zongjio out. However, the head of the Wen family who stood up overestimated his influence and underestimated Li Zongjio's temper. After all, Li Zongjio was just a child. He looked like a teenager and didn't pose much of a threat to them. They didn't even believe that Li Zongjio was the one who killed Gu Congtian. It must be the person behind Li Zongjio who destroyed Gu Congtian. Maybe it was someone from the royal family. As for Li Zongjio, he was just a cover for his withdrawal. Now, Li Zongjio was obviously making use of the power of the person behind him to extort them. Very well, kill him. Li Zongjio pointed at the guy who was shouting loudly. The Liangshan brothers immediately rushed forward and blasted this Yuan monarch into a pile of minced meat with a palm strike. Fresh blood and internal organs splattered on the table. The faces of the 2 people beside him were also covered in fresh blood. This scene was extremely impactful. Everyone who saw this was incomparably shocked. This display of strength, killing the chicken to warn the monkey, was too direct. Li Zongjio was waiting for someone to jump out so that he could kill one first. He wanted to use his strength to tell everyone present. Li Zongjio could indeed cover the sky with one hand now. Seeing this person die tragically, the 2 people who stood up also sat back down quietly. Although their chairs were covered in blood and minced meat, they still sat there without any change in expression. If Li Zongjio wanted to kill them, it would be so casual. Try to resist? Even if the 10 great families joined forces, they would not be a match for Li Zongjio. The Gu family was wiped out overnight. They did not have much enmity with Li Zongjio. Therefore, there was no need to make things like this. It was just money. If money was gone, one could still earn it. However, if one's life was gone, it would really be gone. The person sitting on the chair now was a living example. Unless you wanted to follow in his footsteps. Li Zongjio naturally knew the character of these people in front of him. He had to kill a few of them in order to be honest. Even if he put a knife to their necks, they wouldn't feel anything. He had to cut them down with a knife. Only then would he know what was too late for regret. Look, now that these people were sitting here, they were much more obedient. With so many people here, no one dared to say anything against him. Just register them all. It's fine. Take your time with the money. I'll play around in Skygold City for a few more days. I'll leave when I have enough money, Li Zongjio said. These family heads had no choice but to register obediently. They wrote down their names and numbers. The patriarchs of the 10 great families of Heavenly Gold City were now acting like enslaved prisoners, obediently handing over money. No one would have thought that these big shots, who were usually high and mighty, would have such a lowly life one day. In the eyes of ordinary people, these people were the sky. However, an even higher sky had appeared. It was Li Zongjio. I won't touch a single cent of the Gu family's properties in the city. You can divide them among yourselves. Seeing that everyone had finished registering and had a ledger, it was convenient for him to collect the money. Then, Li Zongjio's words caused everyone to be secretly surprised. Who knew how many business chains the Gu family had? Furthermore, their resources were all in the city. They couldn't take them away. Li Zongjio's White Deer Manor was an outside power. It was extremely difficult for them to enter Skygold City and take over these resources. Furthermore, it was extremely troublesome. There were too many things involved. The only way was to hand them over. Evidently, Li Zongjio was a smart person. If he couldn't eat something, he didn't intend to force it. However, in order to prevent Skygold City from falling into the hands of bandits again, I've decided to send someone to patrol once a month. As for the expenses incurred during the patrol, I'll leave them to you. As for the exact amount, I'll have someone write it down in the ledger. Just a single sentence. It caused the hearts of these family heads to sink to the bottom. Li Zongjio was clearly going to eat them up. Furthermore, this was clearly an act of collecting protection fees. He had actually come to Skygold City to collect protection fees. He was even collecting protection fees from them. This, Li Zongjio was clearly relying on them. This caused them to be at a loss as to what to do. Wasn't this even more shameless than bandits? Could it be that you don't need the protection of my White Deer Manor? If there's anyone who doesn't need it, just stand up. My White Deer Manor will no longer protect him in the future. Chapter 1031. Not protect him? Wasn't it obvious? Without the protection of the White Deer Manor, he probably wouldn't even be able to walk out of the Golden Sky Tower. Although they were unwilling, they could only suppress the anger and humiliation in their hearts. The top families of the Golden Sky City were all gathered together, yet they were being forced to pay protection fees. Such a situation was rare in the world. Even when the Gu family was still around, they weren't so overbearing. However, there was no other way. This place was under the protection of the Gu family. Therefore, these people could even look down on the Xingyan dynasty's royal family. Now that the Gu family had fallen, the Xingyan dynasty would definitely reorganize the Jin province. Without Li Zongjio's protection, this matter would be hard to say. We wouldn't dare. We'll go back and prepare. Although they had to pay protection fees, the other party only wanted a fixed amount of money. This money could be earned back. At the very least, it was a very clear amount if they opened their mouths and asked for other conditions. These families might not agree so easily. The surviving family heads of the 9 families walked out of the Golden Sky Tower. However, there was one person who was sent back in a sack. 2 billion per family. Just these people alone have 18 billion. This money is really easy to earn. They actually agreed obediently. Kuan Erasher was also very surprised. Although he looked calm during the registration process, when the numbers were written one by one, The addition of a zero made him even more shocked. Kuan Erisher knew that it would be easy to do anything after becoming strong. However, he didn't expect it to be easy to this extent. As soon as he opened his mouth, these people directly handed over the money. These people are very cunning. However, in front of me, they are still not enough. In the future, the matter of collecting money will be handed over to you. Can you handle it? Li Zongjio looked at Kuan Erisher and said. Kuan Erisher was clearly a bit of a superstar. This was a very dangerous matter. If one's strength wasn't enough and he still ran to collect money, the other party would turn around and kill him in a matter of minutes. If he dared to reach out, his hand would be chopped off. However, Kuan Erisher had helped Li Zongjio collect money before. Moreover, when collecting debts, it was obvious that accidents would occur. When Li Zongjio went to the Great Happiness Casino to collect debts, he directly bought the entire Great Happiness Casino. Li Zongjio had to find time to take care of the Great Happiness Casino. Don't worry. You can take 30% of the money collected. Li Zongjio said. That's easy. Kuan Erisher was suddenly surprised. He followed Li Zongjio because he believed that Li Zongjio would be able to make a name for himself. Now, who didn't know Li Zongjio's name, but sooner or later, Kuan Erisher would have a chance. Now, Li Zongjio was giving Kuan Erisher a chance to make a name for himself. As for whether he could make a name for himself under such circumstances, it would depend on Kuan Arashi's strength. If he wasn't strong enough, he would only end up as a ghost under the knife of others. The second day, Li Zongjio also directly looted the Gu family's treasury, but there weren't many treasures that could be found in the treasury. Obviously, the Gu family's wealth wasn't stored in the Gu family's courtyard, but in another secret place. This was normal. The safest place was often the most dangerous place to hide things. Just like today, the whole family was destroyed. At least the people who were still alive could use this wealth to make a comeback. Even if they couldn't, they wouldn't have to worry about food and clothing. At this moment, Mao Jiang brought Li Zongjio to an underground secret room of the Gu family. This door is called the Broken Dragon Stone. It weighs 64,000 pounds. If it can't be lifted directly and is broken directly, the whole secret room will be destroyed directly. Mao Jiang said. After wandering in the underworld for so long, he had seen so much of the world. What's behind this door? Qi Yanran reached out and touched the Broken Dragon Stone, trying to feel what was behind it. However, there seemed to be a strong force blocking her, and she couldn't feel anything. There was only an endless repulsive force. The secret of the Gu family's inheritance. You guys can leave first, Li Zongjio said to the few of them. Mao Jiang and the others understood and immediately left. Qi Yanran looked at Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio took a step forward and placed his palm on the wall in front of him. Then he lifted it up. The smooth dragon-breaking stone, which had no place to exert force, was lifted up so easily. Even if an primitive emperor used his origin energy, he might not be able to lift the Broken Dragon Stone. This was because the material of the Broken Dragon Stone would absorb origin energy. The more origin energy used, the stronger it would be. The weight of the dragon-breaking stone would continue to increase. It would be like you were constantly lifting yourself up. In that case, you would never succeed. You actually lifted it up with one hand. Qi Yanran looked at Li Zongjio in surprise. Was there anything Li Zongjio couldn't do? If there was a need, Li Zongjio might even be able to give birth to his own child. It's a piece of cake. Follow me. The two of them walked in, and the broken dragon stone behind them was closed again. Li Zongjio and Mao Jiang seemed to have walked into a secret cave. There was a well in the secret cave. From the depths of the well, a faint light was emitted. At the same time, in the secret cave, one could feel the terrifying energy coming from the surroundings. The energy was spreading out bit by bit. It was awe-inspiring. What's that? Qi Yanran looked in the direction of the well. As an alchemist, she had more or less guessed what the thing in front of her was, but she wasn't too sure yet. The Gu family's inheritance flame origin, the ancient and modern towering flame. Li Zongjio said. Qi Yanran walked closer to take a look and saw a candle-like light swaying below. Such a weak light seemed to be extinguished by a casual blow. However, Qi Yanran could feel the terrifying energy contained in the towering flame. It was enough to easily destroy a city. The weak flame below seemed to have felt Qi Yanran's approach. At this moment, it exploded with a bang. The whole dry well was suddenly filled with flames, rushing directly toward Qi Yanran. Qi Yanran was so frightened that she took a step back and bumped into Li Zongjiu's arms. "Don't be afraid," Li Zongjiu said. Qi Yanran raised her head and took a look. The towering flame was fierce, but there was no way for it to escape from the dry well. An invisible force trapped the towering flame in it. "It's imprisoned," Qi Yanran said in surprise when she saw this scene. The Gu clan's inheritance flame had actually trapped the spiritual fire in this place. Such an action was quite cruel. The Gu family's supreme being experts found this towering flame and imprisoned it here. Every 100 years, a flame lotus seed, which is the flame seed, will be born. These flame seeds are used to help the Gu family master the towering flame and cultivate. Li Zongjiu said slowly. "A bunch of idiots." Chapter 1032. Even if one wanted to refine and imprison the spiritual fire, it would not have been done in such a manner. Once the strength of the main body decreased, the quality of the fire seed produced would only deteriorate. When Li Zongjiu dug out the fire lotus seed from the Ancient One's head, he already knew what these idiots were doing. Hence, even if the Gu family did not intend to cause trouble for Li Zongjiu would definitely make a trip to the Gu family and take away the towering flame. The towering flame is too overbearing and does not match the attributes of your longevity tree. Protect me while I refine the towering flame myself, Li Zongjiu said. As an alchemist, Qi Yanran naturally needed the help of a powerful spiritual fire. Although the towering flame's strength was damaged, it was still in existence that was close to 10,000 years old. Even a slight movement would not be something that Qi Yanran could withstand. Only Li Zongjiu was suitable. In the past, no matter how dangerous the environment was, Li Zongjiu would venture alone. However, it was different now. He was letting Qi Yanran protect him. For Li Zongjiu, this meant that he had complete trust in Qi Yanran, which was why he made such a choice. Qi Yanran also knew how cautious Li Zongjiu was and how guarded he was. Now that he was willing to let her protect him, it meant that Li Zongjiu was willing to entrust his life to her. Even so, Qi Yanran would risk her life to protect Li Zongjiu. "Okay." Qi Yanran nodded heavily and replied with a single word. She held the desolate heaven essence in her hand and stood by the side. Li Zongjiu glanced at the towering flame in the dry well. Even though it had been trapped for 10,000 years, it still exuded a ferocious aura. However, in terms of ruthlessness, Li Zongjiu was definitely more ruthless. He leaped and landed in the dry well. The towering flame instantly enveloped Li Zongjiu ferociously. Boom! The entire well was like a cauldron that kept exploding. The terrifying roar of the explosion and the continuous heat wave made Qi Yanran's scalp go numb. It was simply suicide. And because they were here, a lot of power was isolated. If that layer of confinement was removed, the entire cave would be destroyed in an instant. Li Zongjiu did not put much effort into defending. It just so happened that he could make use of the towering flames. The benefits of upgrading his ancient golden tyrant body scripture were too many. It was difficult to calculate. The benefits of upgrading his ancient golden tyrant body scripture were naturally incisive and vivid. Naturally, the further one progressed in the ancient golden tyrant body art, the more difficult it was to improve. One had to use an even more extreme method to search for an even more terrifying power. Otherwise, breaking through one's limits would be as difficult as ascending the heavens. Boom! The overbearing power of the flames surged into his body. Even though Li Zongjiu's physical strength had already reached the primitive emperor realm, it was nothing in front of the overbearing power of the towering flame. He could still feel a trace of destruction will. If he was not careful, he would be directly destroyed. Li Zongjiu was also quite brave. On one hand, he was absorbing the power into his body, causing his body to be riddled with holes. On the other hand, he was also refining the power. His physical body was constantly being roasted. If it was any other primitive emperor expert who jumped down, they would only end up being burned to ashes in an instant. After 10,000 years of accumulation, is this all you've got? Li Zhongjio's indifferent words made the towering flame erupt with twice the power. Obviously, the towering flame had already cultivated spiritual intelligence in these 10,000 years. At least, it could understand Li Zhongjio's words. Now it's strong enough. It even forced out the obsidian fire in Li Zhongjio's body. Boom! Qi Yanran looked at the seal in the well in front of her. It seemed like the seal was constantly being bombarded and collided. It seemed like it would be torn apart and broken at any time. It could be seen how intense the refining below was. However, it was good that there was movement. If there was no movement, it meant that Li Zhongjio was being refined by the towering flame. Therefore, Qi Yanran was extremely worried. In any case, Li Zhongjio's actions had never been easy to deal with. 3 days later, a figure crawled out of the well. Qi Yanran quickly went forward to help him. At this moment, Li Zhongjio seemed to be in a sorry state. The clothes on his body were directly burned away. Even his skin was pitch black and there was even a charred smell. He looked extremely miserable. How did you end up like this? When Qi Yanran touched Li Zhongjio's body, she felt that Li Zhongjio was like a fireball, extremely hot. It took me a lot of effort. Li Zhongjio said. Coincidentally, I'm not wearing any clothes now. You see, the heavenly dragon elixir last time. Immediately, Li Zhongjio looked at Qi Yanran with a smirk. Before Qi Yanran could react, she was already pinned down by Li Zhongjio. In the entire secret chamber, something indescribable was also happening. When Li Zhongjio took action, he naturally succeeded in subduing and refining the towering flame. At the same time, Li Zhongjio had also raised his physical body to the realm of a second-grade primitive emperor. After reaching the primitive emperor realm, if one wanted to break through again, each level would be several times more difficult than the previous one. The more accumulated, the bigger the gap would naturally become. Li Zhongjio's cultivation in these 3 days was already comparable to a few years' worth of cultivation by an ordinary primitive emperor expert, or even far more than that. Li Zhongjio's cultivation in these 3 days was already comparable to a few years' worth of cultivation by an ordinary primitive emperor expert. In the courtyard of the Gu family. Because the land deed was in the hands of Li Zhongjio, the land of the Gu family had also become Li Zhongjio's property. This area could be said to be the most central area of the Sky Gold City. Of course, Li Zhongjio wouldn't give it up easily. According to the future development trend, Li Zhongjio had already thought about what this place should be used for. However, Li Zhongjio couldn't handle this matter. In addition, there were many obstacles. It still required a lot of people to come in later to settle this matter. Have you collected all the debts? Li Zhongjio asked Kuan Erishur. It's all here, not a single cent less. The people of the Wen family also gave you 3 6th-grade medicinal herbs. Kuan Erishur said. You're pretty smart. Li Zhongjio nodded slightly. As we agreed before, 30% is yours. Li Zhongjio directly used the Nangua ring to transfer the things in the storage ring. All of them were boxes of banknotes. 2 billion wasn't a small amount, but these families understood the importance of it. If they couldn't take out the money, the consequences would be unimaginable. Therefore, no matter what, he had to get his hands on the money. Okay. Kuan Erishur didn't hesitate. It wasn't a man's style to shirk back and forth. After accepting the money, Kuan Erishur was excited. This was the first time Kuan Erishur received so much money. I'll be a rich man in the future. Kuan Erishur was secretly proud, but at the same time, Kuan Erishur was also very clear. His little bit of money was nothing at all. White Deer Manor spent more than 100 billion purple yuan to research a warship. The money he had in his wallet was not enough to do anything. Since everything is arranged, let's go back. Everyone from the Bailu Manor returned to their homes as well. At this moment, General's residence, Meng Hao had been tormented thoroughly for the past few days. He had never thought that Li Zhongjio would really be able to kill Gu Zongtian. Wasn't Gu Zongtian a supreme being? How could he die just like that? Motherfucker, he's worse than me. Gu Zongtian's head was hung on the city wall not far away. Just this point alone was enough for Meng Hao to know. Li Zongjiu hung Gu Zongqian's head up for the people in the city to see, and at the same time, for him to see. Li Zongjiu wanted him dead. After a few days of torment, Meng Hao wanted to go up and apologize, but he was rejected firmly. Li Zongjiu had no intention of meeting him at all. At this moment, Meng Hao's heart was dead. He hadn't left his house for an entire day. Just a while ago, Meng Hao received news. Li Zongjiu and the rest had already left Skygold City. This is the last chance. Li Zongjiu, Meng Hao, will not let you off even if I become a ghost. After Meng Hao finished speaking, he picked up the knife on the table and slashed it across his neck. If he didn't die, his family would suffer. Meng Hao believed that Li Zongjiu would do what he said. Therefore, when Li Zongjiu left, he chose to kill himself. Sir? Oh no, Sir killed himself. What Meng Hao didn't expect was that Li Zongjiu would say a lot of things. Of course, he would do what he said. After all, a person had to be trustworthy. However, there were also some things that he said casually. As for Meng Hao, Li Zongjiu had forgotten about him after he entered the city. There was no need to remember such an insignificant person. However, just because of Li Zongjiu's words, the general of Skygold City actually killed himself in his own study room. It made one sigh. Chapter 1033. Holy Flame Royal City. Everyone had heard about the battle results of the White Deer Manor. All of them were secretly shocked as well. They had also sent out a large number of intelligence personnel to investigate Li Zongjiu's background and find out what kind of existence was behind Li Zongjiu. A supreme being. A supreme being that was hard to come by in 100 years had been killed so easily. Li Zongjiu was actually able to deal with even supreme beings. Now in Holy Flame Royal City, as long as Li Zongjiu did not kill anyone from the royal family, and even if he did, he would not do it openly. At the same time, he would skip the few important members of the royal family and there would be no problem. There were even people from the royal family who hurried to meet Emperor Xingyan. However, Emperor Xingyan was now in the imperial garden, playing Go with a white-haired old man. Military advisor, who is this Li Zongjiu? Emperor Xingyan chatted as he played. Even with Emperor Xingyan's status, he had a humble attitude in front of this white-haired old man. He was the ruler of a dynasty. Obviously, this white-haired old man's status was more prominent. Or rather, he had a higher seniority. This military advisor had been around since the time of Emperor Xingyan's father. According to Emperor Xingyan's father, this military advisor had been around since his father was around. The 3 generations of his ancestors had always respectfully addressed him as military advisor. Your Majesty, you don't have to worry about this person. You just have to ignore, not support, and not target him. Let this kid develop on his own. This kid will be of great help to our Xingyan dynasty in the future. The military advisor said slowly as he played his chess piece. Oh! Emperor Xingyan had always listened to the military advisor. Otherwise, when Li Zongjiu destroyed Qingyuan Manor, Emperor Xingyan had already prepared to find a reason to start eliminating Li Zongjiu's forces. However, at that time, the military advisor appeared and stopped Emperor Xingyan's actions. Later on, there were many times when he wanted to make a move against Li Zongjiu, but he restrained himself. It was only when Li Zongjiu walked out of the 3 Dynasties Elixir meeting that Emperor Xingyan slowly understood the words of the military advisor. As for now, even if they wanted to touch him, it would not be so easy. Although King Qin Yuan was the younger brother of Emperor Xian, he was not the only younger brother. Moreover, this younger brother was not unswervingly on the side of Emperor Xingyan. On the contrary, he had caused a lot of trouble. Therefore, killing him was not a big deal. It was just a matter of taking into account the dignity of the imperial family and the face of the imperial family. Just when he was about to make a move, the military advisor spoke up and stopped him. If this kid is allowed to develop, sooner or later, the power of our imperial family will not be able to suppress him. Emperor Xingyan said with a frown. This was the problem he was worried about. Emperor Xingyan could accept the previous observation. After all, Li Zongjiu was in the palm of his hand and would not fly out for a while. However, now that Li Zhongjio's wings had completely hardened, it was enough to pose a threat to the imperial family of the Xingyan dynasty. Naturally, he could not ignore it. "Don't worry. I will go and meet him tomorrow," the military advisor said. "People like Li Zhongjio cannot be easily offended. If you offend him, you must be 100% sure to destroy him," the military advisor said with an extremely serious expression. "Understood," Emperor Xingyan said. Obviously, the military advisor had a very high opinion of Li Zhongjio. "Li Zhongjio, who the hell are you?" After Emperor Xingyan left, the military advisor leaned back in his chair and held a chess piece in his hand. He closed his eyes and pondered. The person behind Li Zhongjio might be from the untainted land. Perhaps he came from the same place as the sect. The military advisor opened his eyes. If that was the case, then Li Zhongjio really couldn't move around carelessly. The reason why the armament master stayed here was so that he could return one day. He didn't want to stay in this place forever. It was rare for someone interesting to appear. Of course, he had to keep him safe. Li Zhongjio had just returned to the imperial city and his White Deer mansion. A eunuch from the imperial palace came to deliver the imperial edict. Emperor Xingyan conferred the title of imperial tutor to Li Zhongjio on the plaque of the White Deer mansion. When Qi Yanran and the others heard what the eunuch said, they were all shocked. Imperial tutor. That was the position of the imperial tutor. In terms of status, Li Zhongjio's current status was already comparable to Wan Yongho's. Both of them were considered equal existences in their respective empires. They were in the same weight class. Wan Yongho had made a lot of contributions to achieve his current status. On the other hand, Li Zhongjio was conferred the title of imperial tutor at such a young age. It was shocking. Wan Yolan's eyes were filled with indescribable shock. "Okay, accept it." Li Zhongjio nodded and said. Xiao Zhao, who was standing at the side, hurriedly stepped forward and respectfully received the imperial edict, as well as the plaque. White Deer Mansion. The name of the mansion sounded decent. The craftsmanship of the plaque was not bad. It looked like it was worth some money. Therefore, Li Zhongjio accepted it as a show of respect to Emperor Xingyan. When the eunuch from the imperial palace saw that Li Zhongjio was so arrogant that he even allowed someone else to receive Emperor Xingyan's imperial edict, he was a little angry. "Imperial tutor Li, you are still young. You should be more careful in front of the emperor. Otherwise, it won't be easy to clean up if you make a mess," the eunuch said in a strange tone. At the same time, he crossed his arms in front of him as if he was waiting for something. Logically speaking, the person who came to convey the emperor's will should receive some benefits. This was the usual practice. Unfortunately, this rule did not apply to Li Zhongjio. "Let me tell you, if you don't leave now, I will ask someone to throw you out." Li Zhongjio glanced at the eunuch who refused to leave and said rudely. The eunuch had probably never seen such an arrogant person who threatened to throw him out. He was really reckless. "Eunuch, please." When Xiao Zhao saw this, he immediately went forward and led the eunuch out. Otherwise, with Li Zhongjio's temper, he might really throw him out. If that happened, it would be the imperial family who lost face. Something bad would definitely happen. "Just you wait." The eunuch was angry. He flicked his sleeves and left. He did not expect that he would be so angry when he came to deliver the reward. This unscrupulous young man would be done for sooner or later. Even if you're not done for, you'll have to think of ways to make sure you're done for. "Why are you so fierce to him?" Qi Yanran looked at Li Zhongjio and said. Now that Li Zhongjio had received the reward, it was obvious that the Emperor Xingyan was on Li Zhongjio's side. In this way, at least Li Zhongjio had enough status in the Xingyan dynasty. Nothing would happen to him. Others would not dare to provoke him. For Li Zhongjio, this was a very good thing. As for the title, those who were really powerful would not care about these things. They were all half-baked people who were interested in this and that. He wanted to blackmail me just now. Throwing him out is already a light punishment. Let me tell you, this kind of atmosphere needs to be cured. He doesn't do things well and only knows how to seek benefits from others. Li Zhongjio said righteously. Obviously, he was extremely reprimanding such behavior. Seeing Li Zhongjio's serious look, Qi Yanran also covered her mouth and smiled. Sometimes Li Zongjio was like a child. He was not like a child, but Li Zongjio had his own direction. I have to go back first. Recently, the family has encountered a lot of trouble. I have to go back to help the family solve the problem. Qi Yanran said. Call me when you go. I, as the protector of the country, will go and strengthen your momentum. Okay. Chapter 1034. Li Zongjio was conferred the title of Country Protector. White Deer Mansion was also officially renamed to White Deer Mansion. This was a plaque bestowed by the emperor. Li Zongjio's strong background was equivalent to opening up a path for him in the city. After all, Li Zongjio had eliminated the Gu family, which could be considered as solving a huge problem of the Xingyan dynasty. This reward was really deserved. As for Li Zongjio himself, he didn't care about these rewards and conferments. Let's talk about the situation in the city first. The freshman alchemy competition had ended. Longevity Academy won first place, Heavenly Star Medicine Manor won second place, followed by Azure Ocean Academy. The dignified Heavenly Star Medicine Manor was actually defeated by the other party. They were pincered by 2 academies. This made Ling Yan very angry. Therefore, these freshmen had basically bid farewell to their good days. Academies usually had 2 types of courses. One was martial arts, and the other was alchemy. Of course, you could also have other courses, such as elemental marks, forging, formations, and potions. As long as you could reach the qualifications to teach in this course and pass the certification, you could open a class and recruit students. Currently, Azure Ocean Academy was the academy with the most courses. There were 32 courses, and alchemy was only one of them. Even so, the other party had killed their way to the top 3. Moreover, they were only chasing after Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, which put a lot of pressure on Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. If they didn't do well, their position as the big brother of the alchemy world would probably be lost. As for the Longevity Academy, Lin Fan didn't care. After all, the other party was strong and was a truly powerful alchemy sect. They weren't the kind that could be casually bragged about. It was already very good that Heavenly Star Medicine Manor could develop to this extent. However, Ling Yan wasn't limited to this. This won't do. I have to find an even more powerful and abnormal teacher to train you guys. Ling Yan immediately thought of a person. However, Li Zongjio definitely wouldn't be willing to come. Who knew what this guy was busy with all day? He even heard that he had settled a supreme being. This made Ling Yan's heart tremble. Who would have thought that Li Zongjio had actually gone to deal with the supreme being expert who had just broken through and killed him? Once he returned, he was immediately conferred the title of Imperial Tutor. Li Zongjio was actually sent out by the royal family. In any case, Ling Yan didn't care so much. He directly went to the fruit stall opposite the White Deer Mansion and bought some fruits. He then made a fruit basket and carried it into the White Deer Mansion. Ling Yan came to bother Li Zongjio again, but this time, Ling Yan didn't see Li Zongjio. He was blocked by Xiao Zhao in advance. What? Seclusion? Xiao Zhao nodded innocently. Didn't this guy just come back? Why is he in seclusion? Ling Yan suddenly frowned. Young master is injured. Xiao Zhao said softly. It was normal for him to be injured. After all, Li Zongjio had gone to kill a supreme being expert. It would be abnormal if he wasn't injured. Oh, in that case, I'll come back in a few days. Ling Yan nodded. In the Gu family in the city, the one in the most awkward position was Gu Sha. Gu Sha was also from the disciplinary hall and was previously an ancient soldier. However, he heard that all the ancient soldiers were destroyed by Li Zongjio in an instant. How should Gu Sha view Li Zongjio now? Originally, he was only arranged to temporarily take over some of the Gu family's businesses in the Sacred Flame Royal City and take care of the situation. But now, the main family was destroyed. What should Gu Sha and the rest do? Moreover, they also heard that Li Zongjio had already spread the word that anyone who dared to claim to be from the Jin Prefecture's Gu family would be killed without mercy. Gu Sha, Gu Yao and the rest gathered for a meeting. Has the investigation been done? Is the family head really dead? Gu Sha asked. How did things end up like this? Gu Sha was worried to death. However, the situation in the Jin prefecture was already known to the world. There was no need to verify this point. Even if he didn't believe it, he had already destroyed you. If the family head is still alive, why would he let Li Zongjio come back alive? The group shook their heads and sighed. Their faces were ashen. Their Gu family was destroyed just like that? 2 days ago, they had held a banquet to celebrate their family head's breakthrough to the Supreme Being realm. It was only a matter of time before they took care of Li Zongjio and reclaimed their reputation. However, in the blink of an eye, the entire Jin prefecture's Gu family was destroyed. Moreover, Li Zongjio had also spread the word that no one in the Gu family could say that they were from the Jin prefecture. If this relationship was not completely severed, they would be seen as Li Zongjio's enemy. I don't believe that if we don't take the initiative to provoke this guy, he will take the initiative to kill us without any excuses. Gu Yao obviously didn't believe this. He didn't believe that Li Zongjio could be so lawless and do whatever he wanted. Moreover, this was in the imperial city, right under the nose of Emperor Xingyan. No, we can't be reckless, Gu Sha said in a deep voice. Recently, he had also tried to contact some of the surviving experts of the Gu family who were in charge of other places. After all, the Gu family had many properties. Some of the important places needed people to look after. However, there was no reply to all the messages that Gu Sha sent out. Could it be that these people were no longer willing to admit their relationship with the Gu family and wanted to take this opportunity to establish their own family? Gu Sha wasn't sure about the specific situation. However, it must be unusual for all of them to lose contact. Otherwise, they would have at least replied a little. They wouldn't have run away so quickly. Have you contacted the fourth elder? Right now, in the Gu clan, the only one who could step out and carry the banner was the fourth elder of the Gu clan. Regardless of strength or experience, he was the most suitable candidate. Not yet. However, there is news that the fourth elder has appeared in Fengsha Ancient City. We have already sent people over. The only hope is the fourth elder. Fengsha Ancient City. This place was eroded by wind and sand all year round. At the same time, there were many poisonous snakes and insects. Very few people would be willing to come to such a place. However, these places were rich in resources and attracted many adventurers. An old man wrapped in a coarse cloth mask sat in front of a tea stall. In his hand, he was reading an express letter that was sent from a faraway place. His entire face was wrapped up except for a pair of eyes. What? The Gu family? Such a big thing has happened. Reading the contents of the letter, the old man immediately stood up in excitement. Damn it! Just as the old man was about to head back, he noticed that something was amiss with his surroundings. Someone was approaching him from behind. You are courting death. The old man was about to turn around and attack, but he realized that there was no one behind him. Just as he turned around, he saw a cold light flashing in front of him. Then, all the energy in his body disappeared like a deflated pufferfish. Chapter 1035. There was a loud clang. A head fell onto the table. The body fell straight to the ground, and blood gushed out non-stop. When the people in the area saw this, they could not help but stop moving. However, no one went forward to investigate the situation. In fact, there were people who looked around, but they did not find the culprit. That person's head was directly separated from his body, just like a broken tree branch. It was extremely shocking to see. Once the head fell to the ground, it naturally lost the effect of the mask. Someone in the crowd brought out the portrait and compared it to the person's face. Once they were certain that the mission was completed, they turned around and left. It had been nearly half a month. Palace Lord Yun Qi could be said to have traveled through most of Jin province. Wherever she went, she killed all the people. Based on the name list, she killed all the important people in the Gu family. During the process, Palace Lord Yun Qi also learned a lot. She had a deep understanding of the combat abilities of the 4 assassins. They were practically the best assassination weapons. With these 4 top-notch experts leading the way, there was basically no danger that could get close to them while traveling the Jianghu. However, when she thought about how 2 of the 4 people were captured in Spring Flowers and Autumn Moon Tower, she wondered why the 2 of them did not use their powerful abilities to fight back. Even if they wanted to escape, it would have been very easy for them. What Yun-Chi did not know was that the ancient Zhang family's reputation was not just because they were good at killing people. It was also because there was a certain artistic atmosphere to killing people. It was not like this. When they saw someone, they would find a chance to get close to them and kill them. In truth, this assassination plan was incredibly crude. If the people of the ancient Zhang family learned that they used such a method to kill people, they would definitely become famous in the family. This was a family with a lot of principles. The target of each mission had to be carefully designed. If they did not go through such a detailed plan, they would just attack. If they were lucky and did not run into any powerful people, then they would naturally kill anyone they met. However, if they ran into top-class elites, it was easy for problems to arise. Hence, if they did this, they would seem a little unprofessional. The master of the ancient Zhang family had been an assassin for thousands of years, so he naturally had a set of standards. If they were the same as ordinary, despicable assassins, would that not make them seem unclassy? However, Yun-Chi did not know much about this. Since the mission was completed, it was time for her to go back. She had lost a lot of weight just from walking around. Li Zongjio went into seclusion in the manor for 2 days. After all, he had just subdued the towering flame. At the same time, he used the towering flame to refine some pills. Previously, Li Zongjio had said that he would reward these people. Naturally, he could not let them go. At the same time, regarding the Liangshan brothers' injuries, Li Zongjio had already agreed to help them refine medicine. However, the medicinal ingredients had to be prepared by themselves, so he immediately gave them a prescription. When the Liangshan brothers received the news from Li Zongjio, they were so excited that they almost suffocated. They did not expect that the problem that had tormented them for so many years would finally have a chance to be solved. In reality, it only required 1 level 6 medicinal pill per person. But to prescribe the right medicine, only Li Zongjio could take out the corresponding medicinal pills. The White Deer Mansion became famous. More and more people came to seek shelter. All of them wanted to enter the White Deer Mansion and see it for themselves. As a result, many people came to the White Deer Mansion every day. Even now, when recruiting guests, they had to go through a review. After learning that Li Zongjio had come out of seclusion, Wan Yulan also came to say goodbye. She said that she wanted to go back. Li Zongjio naturally allowed her to leave. Since I'm here, I can't go back empty-handed. Otherwise, it would seem that I, Li Zongjio, am such a stingy person. Xiao Zhao, get someone to prepare some fruits. Also, bring some peanuts and melon seeds for her on the way, Li Zongjio said seriously. It was impossible to spend a lot of money, but he had to show his sincerity. Wan Yulan was also embarrassed. She did not know if Li Zongjio was doing it on purpose or if he was always so mischievous. He seemed very happy. Understood. Xiao Zhao was also very clear about Li Zongjio's character. In principle, if you want to give something to Li Zongjio, it's very easy. But if you want to take something from Li Zongjio's hands, sorry, it's harder than ascending to heaven. Giving Wan Yulan some peanuts and melon seeds already showed how much he valued Wan Yulan. Xiao Zhao went to send Wan Yulan off. After all, she was an important guest of the White Deer Mansion. He had to treat her well. Li Zongjio was preparing to check on the situation in the White Deer Mansion. He also wanted to see how the disciples of the Li family were doing in their respective universities. Only Li Baichao was allowed to stay in the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor on account of Li Zongjio. The other disciples of the Li family were arranged to go to different universities. Li Zongjio did not specify which university they would go to. They could choose whichever university they liked. You can't expect everyone to be outstanding. Before you truly stand out, why would others choose you? At the very beginning, everyone was the same. Only when you reveal your talent will they choose you, take a fancy to you, and focus on nurturing you. However, the more than 30 disciples of the Li family had undergone 3 months of training in the White Deer Mansion. They had already been reborn and had been nourished with so many elixirs. Although their talent was not as good as some disciples of the big families, they were far better than when they were in Luoxia City. At the very least, many of them were about to reach the peak of the Yuan Master level. Of course, Li Yun's situation was not included. Li Yun had probably received some inheritance from the King of Fire. Her cultivation in the Ghost King Hall had improved by leaps and bounds. Judging from her aura, she was about to reach the Yuan Monarch level. As for elixirs, the King of Fire had also left Li Yun with a lot of them. This was enough for Li Yun to cultivate by herself. The conditions that the King of Fire had created were enough to cultivate a powerhouse in a very short period of time. Of course, the most important thing was that Li Yun was her talent in array formations. Although she was not able to set up many powerful array formations now, being able to learn them was already proof of her talent. Otherwise, when ordinary people saw things related to this formation, it could be said that they were confused. They would rather go to sleep than take a look at it. Why are you here? Li Zongjio saw a familiar figure in the White Deer Mansion. It was Yi Tianxue. She was wearing a light white dress and had a sword bracelet in her hand. Her steps were light, and it was obvious that Yi Tianxue's strength had improved. However, Li Zongjio had not expected that Yi Tianxue would actually be in the White Deer Mansion. I am now a guest of the White Deer Mansion, Lord Imperial Tutor, Yi Tianxue said with a smile. Yi Tianxue smiled. Although Yi Tianxue was proud, she felt that she owed Li Zongjio a lot. Therefore, she would rather be a guest of Li Zongjio's mansion. At the very least, she could help a little. I'm not the only one here. Leng Outyen and the others are here too. Li Zongjio had helped them previously and saved their lives. Now, they finally had the opportunity to thank Li Zongjio. All right, let's do a good job then. Li Zongjio did not mind. After all, he was a young man. All right, Lord Imperial Tutor. Oh yes, there is an old man who claims to be a military master waiting for you in the living room. He said that he knows you. Chapter 1036. Military Advisor? Li Zongjio was not surprised when he heard the name. I got it. Yi Tianxue was very curious. This military advisor looked like an ordinary old man. How did he know Li Zongjio and why was Li Zongjio willing to meet him? One had to know that those who came to look for Li Zongjio now, if they didn't have a good relationship with him, they would all be asked to leave. Usually, they wouldn't see him. Even if he was free, he wouldn't see you. Being able to meet the housekeeper of the White Deer Mansion, Xiao Zhao, was already giving them enough respect. Otherwise, they would only meet the guards who came to see them off. However, Li Zongjio's realm was not something that Yi Tianxue and the rest could understand. Although he was now a guest of the White Deer Mansion, he usually cultivated in the White Deer Mansion or did his own things. Normally, Li Zongjio didn't have many tasks for them. These daily hired thugs were not of any use. Given the prestige of the White Deer Mansion, how many people would dare to provoke them? That would be no different from courting death. Li Zongjio came to the guest hall. He saw an old man waiting for him. When he saw Li Zongjio come in, the old man smiled and nodded in greeting. Guardian of the royal family, Master Soldier Spirit. Li Zongjio said as he walked in. There was a tinge of surprise in Soldier Soul's eyes. He had not expected Li Zongjio to know his identity and background. Evidently, the person behind Li Zongjio was not simple. In his previous life, Li Zongjio had communicated with the Soldier Spirit. When he had just entered the Sovereign Realm, the Soldier Spirit flew to him to warn him. However, when Li Zongjio broke through to the pinnacle of the Supreme Being state, the Soldier's soul chose to hide within the palace, not daring to meet Li Zongjio. Who would have thought that Li Zongjio's strength would be able to break through so quickly? It was unexpected. The reason why the royal family of the Xingyan dynasty could exist for thousands of years was that they had the support of a sect from the untainted land. Resources were exactly what these sects needed. Even the sects in the untainted land needed a huge amount of resources. Of course, ordinary people did not know about these things. Even the resources that the four big families in the city were fighting for were insignificant in the eyes of the sects in the untainted land. The sects in the untainted land were extremely powerful. Otherwise, they would not be able to control an entire dynasty. However, in front of Li Zhongjio in his previous life, these sects did not dare to act rashly. Everyone minded their own business and occasionally interacted with each other. When one's cultivation reached that level, unless it was a life and death feud, there would not be any feud. Basically, there wouldn't be any enmity between them. And the more solitary they were, the more one wouldn't dare to provoke them. If they were to get angry, the strength of a supreme being was something that not many people would be willing to experience. Gu Tongtian, who was killed by Li Zhongjio. In reality, he was not a complete sovereign realm expert. However, he had cultivated the sovereign energy. He did not transform his physical body into a sovereign realm expert's body. The sovereign realm expert's body was a realm where one merged with the aura of the heavens and earth. If one achieved it, it would not be an exaggeration to say that one would be immortal. Naturally, one's lifespan would be extended countless times. This was also a very normal thing. As for the soldier spirit master in front of him, he was a true sovereign realm expert. First heaven of sovereign realm. He had truly entered the first heaven of sovereign realm. Therefore, in the eyes of ordinary people, this soldier spirit master was just an ordinary person. He did not even have the slightest bit of vitality. When one reached this realm, one could have no vitality at all. One could also use vitality that was 10 times more than that of a peak origin emperor expert. Li Zhongjio, I will not ask about your background. Since you know my duties, I hope that you can cooperate with me. Soldier spirit master said slowly. From his tone, it seemed that he was still discussing with Li Zhongjio. This also depended on one's personality. When one was speaking nicely, one would listen. If one did not listen and insisted on using force, one would not have the chance to regret. It's very simple. If others do not offend me, I will not offend them. Li Zhongjio looked at the old man in front of him and said, in his previous life, this old man would avoid him whenever he saw him. Now, he actually dared to come to his territory to warn him. This was very interesting. For now, he was just a temporary ninja. All the conditions for a showdown were based on one's strength. If one's strength was not enough, why would others want to negotiate with you? Strength was everything. That's good. I am relieved. Please send my regards to your sect. Soldier Spirit Master said as he stood up. Obviously, in Soldier Spirit Master's opinion, there must be a powerful and mysterious sect behind Li Zhongjio. Currently, there was no conflict between the two of them. Hence, there was no need to investigate further. Soldier Spirit Master was only in charge of protecting the Xingyan dynasty, not helping the Xingyan dynasty to eliminate all threats. Li Zhongjio obviously knew the sect behind Soldier Spirit Master. Since he knew, he would not act recklessly. Moreover, the entire Li family was in the Sacred Flame Imperial City. As long as Li Zhongjio was not stupid, he would not do anything stupid. Oh yes, I heard that the 9th prince has been bothering you in the White Deer Mansion for a long time. Emperor Xingyan misses the 9th prince very much. Why don't you let me bring him back? It's fine if you bring it back. You can go to the accountant's office to settle the expenses for these days. Li Zhongjio said without hesitation. Even if you were from the royal family, you would still have to pay. These captives were kept in the White Deer Mansion and it would cost a lot of money to feed them every day. As long as these captives worked in the White Deer Mansion and used their contributions to pay off their debts, there would be no problem. They could leave after paying off their debts. However, these captives realized that their debts were getting bigger and bigger. It seemed like they would never be able to pay off their debts unless they could become rich overnight. Soldier Spirit Master knew Li Zhongjio's character and handed over the money obediently. However, when he handed over the money, even though Soldier Spirit Master was mentally prepared, he was still shocked by the bill. This place is too shady. Soldier Spirit Master thought that he would never step into this place again. It was simply a bandit's nest. Thank you, military advisor. When the 9th prince saw the military advisor, he was naturally very respectful. He did not expect the military advisor to come personally to redeem him. Could it be that his father had started to value him? In fact, the ninth prince felt pretty good staying here. He could learn a lot in the White Deer Mansion in such an environment. At least the ninth prince was being trained well. "You have to pay me back all this money," the military advisor said angrily. The money could not be given away for nothing. "Understood," the ninth prince said respectfully. Before leaving, the ninth prince turned back to look at the White Deer Mansion. He seemed a little reluctant to leave, but he had finally left this place and regained his freedom. Chapter 1037. Mount Xinhuang. Mount Xinhuang was located near the northern river. Beichuan was an extremely huge basin. The soil here was fertile and rich in resources. At the same time, it was also a land of great talents. To be able to live in such an environment, Beichuan was a rare treasure. In such an environment, it could naturally nurture many pinnacle powerhouses. In a place like this, rich in resources and numerous experts, it was easy for bandits and the like to appear. Therefore, the situation was rather chaotic. The dynasty had even stationed the 4 trump card armies here for training. When they attacked, they wouldn't use the Green Dragon Army's banner. But after they attacked, they would casually tell you that they were the Green Dragon Army. This kind of surprise would thoroughly shock the bandits and make them completely convinced. There was nothing much to say. If they appeared in the armor of the Green Dragon Army, these bandits would probably flee in panic. A troop was stationed here all year round, and at the same time, it was to ensure the safety of this area. They didn't want people who had nothing better to do and didn't want to cause unnecessary trouble. Recently, a vein of Xianhuang stone had appeared in the depths of Mount Xianhuang. Xianhuang stone was extremely useful in the forging of many weapons and special origin tools. Even if it was only the size of a thumb, its price was more than 100 times that of gold. The larger the volume of Xianhuang stone, the more expensive it would be because it was relatively complete. Moreover, the larger the stone, the easier it was to produce a heart of Xianhuang. A single heart of Xianhuang was enough to bankrupt an earth elemental powerhouse. It could even increase one's elemental power by 30 or even 40%. It was definitely a divine weapon. Originally, the approval for Mount Xianhuang had already been issued. The Qi family had spent a lot of effort to obtain the mining rights for the vein. However, the Fan family, a super family in Beichuan province, had joined forces with the Qi family. Instead, he joined forces with his old in-laws, the Hua family, which was also the family of the Azure Dragon Legion's commander. They wanted to directly take over this place and prevent the Qi family from entering. Of course, the Hua family couldn't use such a method to abuse their power. However, not everyone in the Hua family knew about this. Currently, the highest-ranking person stationed at Mount Xianhuang was the right commander, Huang. He was the 7th child of the Hua family. Hua Ying's younger sister was the one who married into the Fan family. Huang held real power in his hands, and as the brother-in-law, under the persuasion of the Fan family and his sister, he was determined to do it. In any case, this matter had already been planned. The Fan family took out a land deed and said that Mount Xianhuang was their ancestors' property. They had already included it in their plans. Now that the Qi family had rashly barged in, it was tantamount to forcibly barging into their private territory and refusing the Qi family's mining team's entry. In the beginning, the two sides could only continue to negotiate. Later on, the negotiations broke down, and in the end, they had to settle this matter with their fists. The conflict between the two sides continued to accumulate. The Fan family wanted to rely on their status as a local tyrant to forcefully suppress the Qi family. At the very least, they wanted to obtain more benefits from the Qi family. That was why they went head-on against the Qi family. At first, the Qi family didn't expect these people to be so intense. That was until an elder of the Qi clan was injured. In the Qi family's meeting hall, all the elders were present. Qi Shaohun sat at the top with a dark face. Since these Fan family people are so despicable and want to force the Qi family to take action, then come. Now, the Qi family really has nothing to be afraid of. Qi Shaohun said coldly. He had already broken through to the primitive emperor realm. Originally, he wanted to settle this peacefully. If you want some benefits, he would give it to you. However, you don't want face. Then let Qi Shaohun have a good time. Family head, let me go. Qi Yanran stood up and said. The Fan family had gone too far. The Qi family had spent so much to cultivate Qi Yanran in order to wait for her strength to break through and then feed back to the Qi family. Now, Qi Yanran's strength was even stronger than Qi Xiaohuan's. Therefore, letting Qi Yanran go would be foolproof. Moreover, there were still people protecting Qi Yanran in this city. This time, Qi Yanran commanded the people of the White Deer Mansion to defeat the people of the Gu family. It was also a resounding brand for Qi Yanran, letting everyone know that this little girl of the Qi family had such a great ability. It was really admirable and terrifying. If he were to face such a beautiful girl who turned out to be such a ruthless character, he would never underestimate her. Okay, which elder is willing to lead the team and strengthen the name of the Qi family? A group of elders eagerly signed up, and finally, the fifth elder, Qi Wuji, led the team. In addition, there were many experts of the Qi family. Qi Yanran didn't tell Li Zongjio about this. Li Zongjio had a lot of things to do. The White Deer Mansion was huge, and Li Zongjio also had his own family. Moreover, this was the Qi family's matter. Qi Yanran and the others directly took down Mount Xianhuang. Although the Fan family couldn't resist the invasion of private property, they directly brought out the Green Dragon Army. Soon, the Green Dragon Army set out and took down the people of the Qi family. Even Qi Yanran was imprisoned by Huaying. The Qi family didn't expect this. These people from the Azure Dragon Army had actually gone overboard, directly detaining all of them. The people of the Hua family are too shameless. Many elders of the Qi family were also furious. How dare they directly arrest people? Could it be that the Green Dragon Army has no respect for the law? The elders were impassioned. With Qi Yanran's strength, she naturally wouldn't be trapped by them. However, Qi Yanran must have been detained by them to take care of the other members of the Qi family. Qi Shaohun didn't expect the other party to be so ruthless. The Green Dragon Army was indeed a little too much. After a long time, these people would naturally panic. After all, this matter couldn't be solved so easily. It seems that we can't force this matter. Make an appointment with the people of the Hua family. I want to meet the Hua family's patriarch. Qi Shaohun directly ordered. Meet Patriarch Hua. He was the real patriarch of the Hua family. His rank was also at the same level as Qi Xiaohuan's father. It was obviously not a good time to disturb such a retired figure. However, Huaying of Mount Xianhuang had gone too far this time. Just when Qi Shaohun was thinking of ways to bring people out first. On the other side, Li Zongjio had already arrived at Mount Xianhuang alone. Green Dragon Army Camp. Tell your leader to come out and see me. Li Zongjio stood directly at the gate of the camp with his hands behind his back and said with a cold face. Chapter 1038. Li Zongjio stood in front of the Green Dragon Army's camp. Immediately, a group of armored soldiers rushed out and surrounded Li Zongjio. The garrisons of the Azure Dragon Army were all extremely well hidden. There were even many hidden sentries along the way. If even one's own camp was found out by the enemy, it would be a disaster. For the Green Dragon Army, such a low-level mistake could easily cost them their lives. Therefore, when they saw Li Zongjio rush to the camp, they immediately asked for the highest commander. They even mentioned that they wanted to find the highest commander. They immediately went forward and surrounded Li Zongjio. Put your hands on your head and lie on the ground. You trespassed into the camp. We can punish you according to military law at any time. The Green Dragon Army in front of him held a green dragon shield and a 3-meter-long green flower spear. They were awe-inspiring. Seeing that the people in front of him did not understand, Li Zongjio directly waved his palm. Without moving his feet, a terrifying gust of wind blew the people in front of him away. Boom! More than 10 Green Dragon Army in front of him were directly blown away. The shields and spears in their hands were directly broken and their armors were completely torn apart. Boom boom boom. The group fell to the ground and vomited blood. The alarm in the camp immediately sounded. Someone had attacked the Green Dragon Army. Form the Green Dragon Formation. The Green Dragon Army immediately assembled. Many Yuan King-level experts could even be seen rushing out. Hundreds of Green Dragon army immediately formed 5 Green Dragon formations. It carried a terrifying might as it pressed down on Li Zongjio. The Green Dragon formation in front of him was obviously a powerful formation. Whether it was against an individual expert or an enemy battle formation, the Green Dragon formation was very effective. Facing the extremely powerful Green Dragon formation that the Green Dragon army was very familiar with, Li Zongjio only raised his hand and threw a punch. Boom! The domineering force directly overturned the entire camp. Hundreds of people were directly sent flying. Many of them hung on the branches of the trees. Li Zongjio was not sure if anyone died, but there were so many people. All of them must have been seriously injured. None of them were standing in their original positions unscathed. Where are your heads? Li Zongjio came in front of a Yuan king. Yuan kings were more resistant. After being hit by Li Zongjio's fist, they were only seriously injured and did not pass out immediately. Commander. Commander is in North Star City. Fan family. Do you know the consequences of doing this? That person who looked like a captain stared at Li's eyes. He did not know who Li was, but attacking the army directly. Li Zongjio could be taken down in minutes. However, Li Zongjio looked fearless. He even had the guts to not take the Green Dragon army seriously. I will spare your lives on account of your ignorance. Otherwise, all of you will die. After saying that, Li Zongjio's figure disappeared. It was as if he had never appeared. This made the Yuan kings lying on the ground stare. Their Green Dragon formation could deal with Yuan emperors. However, in front of the young man just now, it was like a child's play. He had directly destroyed it. Years of hard work and hard training had been destroyed by this young man in the end. There were nearly 500 people at the scene, but they were taken down in less than 3 seconds. Oh no, the commander is in danger. This Yuan king was also a captain in the army. He immediately found the camp's carrier pigeon and sent out a message to summon the commander back. At the very least, he had to remind the commander that someone was looking for trouble. North Star City. Fan Family Restaurant. At this moment, the people of the Fan family were wantonly entertaining the right commander of the Green Dragon army, Huang. At first, Huang declined, saying that he had matters to attend to in the army and could not drink. However, after 2 or 3 cups, he immediately released his nature. Anyway, North Star City was his territory. Now that the Fan Family restaurant had been cleared out and the confidentiality work was done very well, there was naturally nothing to be concerned about. This time, we still need Commander Ing to capture these bandits from the Qi family. We have to interrogate them properly. These people are used to being arrogant. They think that this is still the sacred flame royal city and that they have the final say. Fan Jingzhe poured wine for Huang while gesturing to his subordinates to quickly prepare some programs. Jingzhe, it's not that I want to nag you, but these people from the Qi family are really not to be trifled with. You guys should hurry up and get some benefits so that I can release them as soon as possible. If the family knows that I did this, I might be in trouble too. Huang drank 2 cups and said with a slightly red face. This wine was very strong. Brother-in-law, you are the 13th son of the Hua family. With your 7th brother, you have already become the right commander at such a young age. With such talent and achievements, the future of the Hua family, including the Green Dragon army, will be decided by you. Fan Jingzhe said flatteringly. Upon hearing Fan Jingzhe's words, Huang immediately laughed out loud. It's hard to say. As the two of them drank to their heart's content, Fan Jingzhe clapped his hands. Immediately, a group of gorgeously dressed women walked in and surrounded Huang and Fan Jingzhe. You have to treat Commander Hu well. If you don't treat him well, I will teach you a lesson. Fan Jingzhe said sternly. Immediately, these women rushed up and surrounded Huang. Fan Jingzhe immediately bowed and retreated. We won't disturb you anymore. This restaurant has been booked today. We won't be receiving any guests. Please have a good rest. Huang was initially pushing and shoving, but after that he gave in half-heartedly. After staying in the army for so long, he needed to release some of his energy. Just as Fan Jingzhe was about to leave and not disturb Huang, he suddenly saw an unfamiliar young man appear not far away. Fan Jingzhe immediately raised his eyebrows and looked angry. "Where did you come from, handyman? Hurry up and get lost. What are you doing here?" When Fan Jingzhe saw Li Zongjiu approaching, he immediately scolded him. At the same time, he saw that Li Zongjiu was so insensible. He raised his hand and slapped Li Zongjiu's face, ready to teach Li Zongjiu a lesson. Slap. Before Fan Jingzhe's slap landed on Li Zongjiu's face, he felt his hand leave his body. Something seemed to have fallen to the ground. Fan Jingzhe looked and saw that it was his arm. "My hand." Fan Jingzhe saw that his hand had fallen to the ground. When he looked at his arm, he realized that it was empty. Fan Jingzhe hesitated for a second before hurriedly covering his arm and screaming, "Ah, my hand!" Li Zongjiu pressed Fan Jingzhe's face and slapped him into the room he had just come out of. At this moment, Huang was dancing with a group of women. He was having a good time. Bang! Fan Jingzhe was thrown to the ground. Blood was still gushing out of his broken arm. "Ha!" Huang immediately woke up when he saw this scene. "Who is it?" Li Zongjiu ignored Huang and picked up a steel knife on the table. There were a few words engraved on it: "Green Dragon Right Commander." Chapter 1039. You're the leader of the Green Dragon Army? Li Zongjiu glanced at the saber in his hand and then at Huang in front of him. When the surrounding women saw Fan Jingzhe, whose arm had been cut off, and Li Zongjiu walking in aggressively, they all panicked and screamed as they fled. It was not easy to be a prostitute. People would rush in to take the lives of their guests, so they had to be prepared to run for their lives at any time. All of them fled in an instant. "Yes, I'm the right commander of the Green Dragon Army, Huang. Who are you? How dare you hurt someone in front of me?" After Li Zongjiu heard the latter's admission, he directly slashed down with his saber. Seeing Li Zongjiu attack, Huang subconsciously wanted to defend himself, but he found that he had no chance to dodge at all. He could only watch as the saber slashed down on his body. So, Huang's entire body sat on the ground, and then he was directly split into two halves. When Fan Jingzhe turned around and saw Huang's dead body, he immediately vomited in shock. Such a tragic death. And it was so simple. How did this young man do it? He even dared to kill a general of the imperial army in public. This was an enemy of the Xingyan dynasty. This was a rebellion, a rebellion. After Li Zongjiu slashed Huang with his saber, heavy footsteps came from the corridor. The city guards of North Star City had arrived. Previously, Li Zongjiu killed a lot of people when he landed and created a lot of noise. Moreover, there was a distinguished guest in Fan Family Restaurant today, so the city guards wanted to curry favor with him. So they paid close attention to him. But they happened to encounter such a thing. This immediately made Wei Quan, the commander of North Star City, happy. This was great. It was time to show his face and make a contribution. Bang! The door was directly smashed into pieces. Wei Quan walked in under the escort of many city guards. After the city guards walked in, they immediately surrounded Li Zongjiu. Wei Quan's face was full of anger, as if he wanted to enforce the law impartially in front of Huang. Even if he wanted to express his goodwill, he wouldn't be so obvious. However, when Wei Quan walked in, he saw Fan Jingzhe lying on the ground with one of his arms cut off. He quickly went forward to help him up. "Isn't this Steward Fan?" "This." As Wei Quan spoke, he suddenly saw a corpse behind the table that had already been split in half. The corpse was covered in blood and internal organs. Huang, right commander of the Green Dragon Army. Now, he had become a corpse. Wei Quan's pupils shrank when he saw the state of death. He had been in charge of the army for so many years and had seen all kinds of brutal murders. However, Li Zongjiu's saber was as fast as lightning. When the person was chopped to death, the person was still alive. He could even see Huang trying to put his head back on before he died. You actually killed General Huang. Such a big case was actually in Wei Quan's hands. While Wei Quan was shocked, he was also extremely excited. Taking down Li Zongjiu was a great achievement. Not to mention the reward, at least his reputation would soar. Wei Quan had just walked up to Li Zongjio and was about to say a few harsh words when Li Zongjio directly slapped him in the forehead. Two of Wei Quan's teeth were knocked out. His mouth was full of blood. Most importantly, Wei Quan didn't see Li Zongjio's movements at all, so it was impossible for him to dodge. You actually dare to hit me? Wei Quan couldn't take it anymore. This kid was too arrogant and simply lawless. Wei Quan immediately prepared to give the order to tear Li Zongjio into pieces. However, Li Zongjio directly threw a token at Wei Quan's face. Clean up this place and bring me to the Fan family. Li Zongjio's tone was really arrogant. Then he swaggered out of the place, ignoring the weapons of the soldiers. The soldiers didn't know what was going on, but they didn't dare to stop him or ask. Wei Quan originally wanted to give the order to take him down, but he saw that the token in his face was a little familiar. It had a very familiar royal emblem on it. Imperial Tutor. Lord Imperial Tutor. When Wei Quan saw the token, he immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. He felt his whole body go limp. What day was it today? Was it the wrong time to go out? These batches of people were not to be trifled with. Wei Quan had already made a decision on the spot. He couldn't give up such a good opportunity so easily. He hurriedly followed Li Zongjio. Damn, this was the Imperial Preceptor. He had accumulated several lifetimes of good fortune to be able to work under the Imperial Preceptor. How many people dreamed of this? Although Hui Ying's status was respected and he had military power in his hands, Hui Ying's status was very high. But there was nothing he could do. He was already dead. What else was there to say? He could only bury him. Go to the Fan family? Wei Quan immediately gave the order to bring Fan Jingzhe along. Fan Jingzhe was even more stunned when she saw this. Why was Wei Quan still smiling foolishly after being slapped by that kid? This was a slap in the face. Could it be that he had been beaten silly? Fan Jingzhe was about to ask Wei Quan when he saw Wei Quan give the order to tie Fan Jingzhe up. Commander Wei, what do you mean by this? The murderer is over there. Fan Jingzhe hadn't expected that this fence-sitter would actually dare to deal with him. What kind of madness did he have to do such a stupid thing? Steward Fan, your Fan family is in big trouble now. Wei Quan shook his head helplessly. The Fan family was quite powerful in North Star City and sometimes gave them more benefits. Therefore, Wei Quan still wanted to support the Fan family and extort them at the same time. However, for some reason, the Fan family had provoked Li Zongjio, who had just been conferred the title of Protector of the Nation. Although the position of Protector of the Nation didn't have any real power, he had a real name. No one would dare to touch him if his name was hung here. Otherwise, they would really be making an enemy of the Xingyan dynasty's royal family. As long as he had this title, the Xingyan dynasty was behind him. Who would dare to mess around? A mere Fan family was probably going to be in big trouble. Commander Wei, what do you mean by this? Explain clearly. Wei Quan couldn't be bothered to explain to Fan Jingzhe and gave the order to take him away. Then, Wei Quan quickly caught up with Li Zongjio and respectfully returned the identity token to Li Zongjio. Lord Imperial Tutor, please forgive me. I failed to recognize Mount Tai and almost offended you, Lord Imperial Tutor. Go to the Fan family. Yes, Lord Imperial Tutor. Wei Quan didn't ask why they were going to the Fan family or what they were going to do there. He didn't know anything and didn't dare ask. Looking at Li Zongjio's expression, he knew that nothing good was going to happen. Chapter 1040. Today, the Fan family was holding a celebratory banquet. Therefore, the atmosphere was extremely joyous. However, just as everyone was eating happily, a servant came to report. Family head, bad news. The restaurant has been smashed. The Fan family restaurant had been smashed. Of course, they had to inform the Fan family and immediately take note of this matter. What? Who did it? The family head of the Fan family, who was also Fan Jingzhe's elder brother, Fan Yan. Fan Yan's face was filled with anger. Could it be that someone deliberately came to ruin the Fan family's business? Because of Hui Ying's special identity, Hui Ying was not supposed to step into the city. He could not even be anxious with the local nobles. This was to prevent corruption and bribery from happening. However, this kind of thing could only be discussed in public. Even if some illegal things were done in private, as long as no one investigated, the family behind it could cover up the matter if the family was powerful enough. Now that someone had gone to the restaurant to cause trouble, it was obvious that they were targeting Hua Ying and the Fan family. They wanted to make things difficult for the Fan family. I'd like to see who dares to cause trouble at this time. I've already taken down the Qi family in Monarch City. Who dares to cause trouble in front of me? Fan Yen said angrily. Family head, let me bring the person back to you. A more proactive elder of the family stood up and said. This elder of the Fan family was also a more radical one. Of course, he had to seize such a good opportunity to perform a meritorious service. All right, I'll leave him to you. I want him alive. Fan Yen said. If he killed him directly, how could he vent his anger and establish his authority? He had to let these brats know who the real winner was. Now that they had the Green Dragon army behind them, they had an absolute status even in North Star City. They were not people who could be provoked as they wished. Now that the Fan family was in the limelight, if they wanted to cause trouble at this time, they would obviously be courting death. You guys, come with me. The elder of the Fan family immediately selected a few of the more powerful guards in the family to go out and capture the troublemakers. However, just as he stepped out of the banquet hall, he saw a group of armored city guards rushing into the Fan family's courtyard. What's going on? The city guards immediately rushed in, armed with spears, and surrounded the entire banquet area. 2 rows of soldiers stood neatly in front of the banquet. Commander Wei? What do you mean by that? The elder of the Fan family saw Wei Quan walk in. Beside Wei Quan was a graceful young man. No, to be precise, Wei Quan was beside the young man. Wei Quan raised his hand, and the soldiers behind him threw the injured Fan Jingzhe to the ground. Hibernation awakening. The Fan family elder was shocked when he saw Fan Jingzhe with a severed arm. Everyone in the Fan family was puzzled when they saw this. Fan Yen stood up and walked to the front. When he saw the lineup of Wei Quanban's men, he realized that they were not to be trifled with. Wei Quanban was clearly not giving him any face. Otherwise, he would have at least greeted them. Seeing this, Fan Yen also realized that something was not right. Commander Wei, may I know how my Fan family has offended you that you need such a big lineup? Fan Yen was neither servile nor overbearing when he spoke. After all, Wei Quan usually appeared to be weak. Now that the Fan family had Hui Ying's support, at least for now, they would not appear too humble in front of Wei Quan. On the other hand, Wei Quan should be more careful. Otherwise, he would not be able to continue being the commander. Sir, this is the head of the Fan family, Fan Yen. Wei Quan said to Li Zongjio, ignoring Fan Yen. Poor Fan Yen. Facing Li Zongjio, the imperial tutor, he was still so arrogant. He was simply courting death. He actually ignored the imperial tutor. Wei Quan shook his head inwardly. Fan Yen did not even have this bit of eyesight. Fan Yen also seemed to realize that something was wrong. Wei Quan was actually introducing him to Li Zongjio. What did this mean? Very good. Li Zongjio nodded. Then he took a step forward. Before Fan Yen could react, he directly grabbed Fan Yen's face and slammed him to the ground. Bang! Fan Yen immediately fell to the ground, and his teeth were knocked out. Then, Li Zongjio stomped his foot. Fan Yan's head was smashed to pieces. He stomped the head of the Fan family, Fan Yen, to death on the spot. Fan Yen did not even know who the person in front of him was, what he was doing, and why he wanted to kill him. However, Li Zongjio was so straightforward. He killed him first. Capture everyone from the Fan family. Kill anyone who dares to resist. Li Zongjio said indifferently. He instructed Wei Quan, who was beside him, to take action. Although Wei Quan felt that it was very difficult, he still walked out. He ordered to capture everyone from the Fan family. Wei Quan, what do you mean by this? Can the city guards kill people so insolently? If you don't give the Fan family an explanation today, I will definitely report it to the Supreme Court. An elder of the Fan family shouted directly. He killed their head of the Fan family. The head of the Fan family was killed just like that. Did you think that it was a joke? It was almost as if he came directly to deal with the Fan family. He was going to take off the Fan family's head. Cut the crap. This is the protector of the nation, Li Zongjio. Wei Quan could not be bothered to talk nonsense with these people in front of him. He could already tell that Li Zongjio came here today to take their lives, and not to joke or play games with them. Wei Quan was quite experienced in the aspect of acting according to the situation. For people like Li Zongjio, he didn't need to say anything and just directly acted. High efficiency would bring about an increase in favorable impression points. Such people liked efficiency. No one dared to resist, because the death of their head of the Fan family had stunned them. Tie them all up on the drill ground. Tie them up and let them be exposed to the sun and rain. Without my orders, no one is to be released. Yes, Sir Imperial Tutor. Wei Quan replied. Imperial Tutor. Li Zongjio, what's the situation? I don't know how we offended Sir Imperial Tutor. How could he treat our Fan family like this? An elder who was captured and brought to Li Zongjio asked in confusion. Your Fan family has offended someone you shouldn't have. Li Zongjio patted the elder's face and said coldly, if you're not strong enough, don't go around offending people. Immediately, everyone in the house was captured and brought to the drill ground. As for the rest of the Fan family, Li Zongjio did not deal with them. If they wanted revenge, he would welcome them at any time. Li Zongjio liked these people to come for revenge and then completely trample them under his feet. But so far, he had not met anyone who dared to come for revenge. Qi Yanran and the others were locked up in a dungeon in the city. This dungeon was also under the jurisdiction of the Green Dragon Army. It was considered a secret dungeon. After all, the Green Dragon Army often took action against some powerful bandits and the like. Some important missions also required them to be locked up and interrogated. Li Zongjio came to the secret dungeon. There were 2 guards at the door, but they were directly punched by Li Zongjio. He rushed all the way in. Yanran. Li Zongjio directly tore down the iron bars of the cell and held Qi Yanran, who had a happy face, in his arms. I knew you would come. Chapter 1041. Qi Yanran was not worried about her safety. These people would not dare to do anything to her. She was just like an ordinary girl, hoping to see her man descend from the sky and rescue her from this prison cell. Although, this was a little boring. However, Qi Yanran had waited for so long. In just one day, Li Zongjio appeared in front of her. Why didn't you call me here earlier? Li Zongjio's tone was a little resentful. In his previous life, Li Zongjio had also been in prison. The feeling of being in prison was not good. The surroundings were chaotic. How could he let Qi Yanran experience such an environment? I can't always rely on you, right? Why not? Li Zongjio looked at Qi Yanran and said in a slightly domineering manner. As the 2 of them exchanged glances, they seemed to be transmitting something. If this scene continued, the style of the scene would change. The elder in the other cell also coughed a few times. Cough, cough, cough. Qi Yanran woke up and pushed Li Zongjio away. This guy was too bad. The aura on Li Zongjio's body was too attractive. Li Zongjio looked at the elder with some displeasure. Why was he stirring up trouble? However, even though he was displeased, he could not just beat him up. After all, he was a member of the Qi family. He still had to give him some face. Although Li Zongjio was more domineering, he was not that brainless. He rescued the people of the Qi family. Qi Yanran was a Yuan King-level elite. The equipment in North Star City did not have the ability to trap her for the time being. Therefore, she was only locked up there symbolically. However, the other people were also wearing some shackles that restricted their Yuan power. How is the situation of the Fan family? Qi Yanran asked. When the group of people walked out, they happened to see Wei Quan waiting at the door. The reason they could find this place was because of Wei Quan. I killed a commander of the Green Dragon Army. I also killed the head of the Fan family. The others have been tied up on the school ground. Li Zongjio said faintly. Li Zongjio wanted to talk about Wei Quan's background, but he didn't seem to remember. My name is Wei Quan. I'm the chief of the city guards. Wei Quan quickly introduced himself. Greetings, Chief Wei, Qi Yanran said. The Qi family elder also stepped forward and tried to get close to Wei Quan. In the future, when he mined black-yellow, or he would inevitably have to deal with the people here. Of course, he had to handle the relationship well. Moreover, the Qi family also needed to set up a branch in the North Star City. Otherwise, it would be difficult for them to deal with this matter in a centralized manner. After all, the Qi family was far away in the sacred flame royal city. With such a long distance, many messages could not be delivered in time. Killing the commander of the Green Dragon Army is no small matter. After exchanging greetings, the Qi family elder frowned as he listened to Li Zongjiu's words. Originally, this matter was already quite complicated. Now that the commander of the Green Dragon Army was killed, the matter had become even more troublesome. So what if it's the Green Dragon Army? Their commander is not here today. Otherwise, I would have twisted his head off. Li Zongjiu said. Originally, the well water does not interfere with the river water. But now that you want to touch Qi Yanran, you are making an enemy of Li Zongjiu. How can I let you live peacefully? I have to report this matter to the family head as soon as possible. The Qi family elder said. When they walked to the drill ground at the city gate, they saw that all the people of the Fan family were tied to wooden stakes. All of them had been tied up and given a good beating. Their hearts were filled with relief. Qi Yanran also glanced at these people with extreme indifference. From the beginning, these people did not have a stable footing. They just wanted to use the power of the Green Dragon Army to compete with them for the Black-Yellow Oregon. They did not even want to compete. They just wanted to make trouble and then reap benefits for themselves. Only people like them could do such despicable things. As soon as they saw an opportunity to reap some benefits, they would never miss the opportunity. It was also extremely disdainful. The people of the Fan family stared at Li Zongjiu and the people of the Qi family with hatred. They did not expect the Qi family to find a more powerful backer. But now that a commander of the Green Dragon Army was dead, this matter was not so simple. The Hua family behind this would certainly not let it go. Therefore, this matter had already plunged the Qi family into an abyss of suffering. The end would be very interesting. The people of the Fan family were not in a hurry. Now that they could not come down, they would wait for Li Zongjiu and the people of the Qi family to accompany them. The elder of the Qi family sent someone back to the family headquarters to report this matter. After Qi Yanran had Li Zongjiu's support, she directly displayed her skills and commanded the remaining people to carry out some of the mining work of the Black-Yellow Mountain. First, she rented a big house in the North Star City to arrange some logistics for the people who would arrive later. Li Zongjiu did not worry about these things. Instead, he directly returned to the Sacred Flame Imperial City. If the Hua family knew about this matter, they would definitely come to cause trouble for Li Zongjiu. What was there to be afraid of? If they had the courage, they could come directly. Moreover, Li Zongjiu's current status. Although he did not dare to directly order the Green Dragon Army to attack, at least with his position in the Green Dragon Army, without Emperor Xingyan's order, the Hua family together would not be able to touch a hair on Li Zongjiu's head. This was the convenience that came with identity. Hua Ying's status in the Hua family was not low, and he even had a very bright future in the army. However, Li Zongjiu directly chopped off his head. No one would have thought that such a situation would happen. The Hua family had a reputation outside. Even if an imperial tutor really came, or if another more arrogant and insolent imperial tutor came, they would teach him a lesson for the sake of the Hua family. How could they directly take the latter's life? Always leave a way out. However, Li Zongjiu did not like to leave a way out. Give you face? In front of Li Zongjiu, your face was not enough. There was nothing to give. If you have the ability, just come and fight. He had always been domineering. However, he did not know how the Hua family would deal with Li Zongjiu's provocation this time. Young master, there is news of His Excellency the King of Fire. Li Zongjiu had just returned to the White Deer Mansion. Xiao Zhao walked up to him. Where is he? The primitive blaze territory. Xiao Zhao took a deep breath, calmed herself down and said, the primitive blaze territory. A trace of surprise flashed across Li Zongjiu's eyes, But he quickly understood. Although the primitive Blaze territory was extremely dangerous, it was more likely for the King of Fire to achieve a breakthrough in such a place. I understand. Also, young master, there is a clue that you asked us to find the primordial beast of the wood attribute. It is very likely to be true, but we have no way to verify it. Speak. Chapter 1042. Heaven Ridge Mountain Range, Mountain Seagull. With a gentle flap of its wings, it could overturn the mountains and fill the seas. Mountain Seagull was also considered a mutated beast with an ancient bloodline. The difference between it and ordinary meta-beasts was like the difference between heaven and earth. This kind of mountain seagull could even compete with the peak bloodline of meta-beasts like the dragon race. It could be seen how strong it was. According to the information provided by Xiao Zhao, a mountain seagull had appeared in Heaven Ridge Mountain 10 years ago and swallowed an entire mountain. This caused a broken beam to appear in Heaven Ridge Mountain range. Although what everyone saw was something that happened 10 years ago, many people still remembered it clearly. Later on, many people went to search for it, but they couldn't find any clues. They couldn't find the legendary mountain seagull and it disappeared just like that. It's really not easy to find a supreme meta-beast. Li Zongjio was hesitant after reading the information from Yuan Beast Workshop. After all, the mountain seagull's strength wasn't simple. With his current state, it wouldn't be easy to resist the mountain seagull. Let's wait for a while. Recently, I have reached a bottleneck. I have to find a way to break through. Li Zongjio could clearly feel that it was very difficult to raise his cultivation through cultivation. At least, the speed of improvement was very slow. Li Zongjio couldn't stand it. The soul-returning beast had completely refined Gu Zongtian's soul into extremely pure energy. It also helped Li Zongjio to raise his mental strength. Now, his mental strength had entered the second-grade Meta-Emperor realm. On the contrary, his elemental energy cultivation was lagging behind. In the next 2 days, Li Zongjio mobilized his resources and found some extremely precious herbs to refine a batch of 6th-grade elixir pills. Above the White Deer Mansion, thunderclouds could be seen rolling. It was as if the heavens were punishing the people in the White Deer Mansion for their actions. The terrifying lightning that kept surging was unforgettable. Some people even stopped to admire the terrifying lightning from afar. Although they were constantly being struck by lightning, others were envious. If they were in Li Zongjio's shoes, they would also be willing to be struck by lightning. Because every time he was struck by lightning, it meant that a grade 6 medicinal pill had appeared. That was a grade 6 medicinal pill. Many alchemists in the city were also deeply moved. Although Li Zongjio from the White Deer Mansion didn't do anything other than refine pills in his own territory, this was already the greatest display of his abilities. He told these people that he, Li Zongjio, was refining grade 6 medicinal pills again. Just as Li Zongjio was swallowing a pill to cultivate. It was a huge military family, the Hua family. The families that had controlled the Green Dragon army for nearly 100 years were quarreling over Li Zongjio. That day, Li Zongjio directly broke the arm of the third elder of the Hua family. Moreover, he threw Hua Qing directly onto the road, not caring about their face at all. He didn't take the Hua family seriously, and now he was even more arrogant. He had actually killed Huaing. Huaing could be considered Hua Qing's uncle. He had also been groomed by the Hua family. Although he was a little greedy and lustful, he was an absolute expert in leading troops into battle. He was a valiant general. Huaing usually didn't like to fight with others. He was also proud and arrogant, so most people wouldn't be able to interact with him. However, this time, he had been killed by Li Zongjio. According to this news, Li Zongjio didn't give Huaing any chance to retaliate. He had killed him on the spot. Li Zongjio is just a newly appointed Great Master Protector. Even if he were a first-rank minister, the Protector Duke, or the various princes, he wouldn't be able to kill him just like that. Huaing was the commander of the Green Dragon Guard. How could the commander of the Green Dragon Guard be executed so easily? The third son of the Hua family, Hua Third Master, had been looking for an opportunity to take revenge on Li Zongjio for a long time. However, last time, It seemed that someone had stepped in to mediate the matter. The old master of the Hua family had stepped in and temporarily suppressed the matter. The other party seemed to have a powerful background, so they didn't want to make a big deal out of it. They gave each other face and kept their grievances to themselves. The Hua family had simply endured it and treated it as if they had suffered a grievance in silence. But this time, it was different. The arm could be reattached. However, a dead person couldn't be brought back to life just by putting the corpse back together. As a result, these people were enraged. The eldest son of the Hua family and the second son of the Hua family sat in their seats, not saying a word. The eldest son of the Hua family, Hua Tianjia, looked at the second son of the Hua family, Hua Feihong. Feihong, what do you think of this matter? At this moment, everyone's eyes were focused on Hua Feihong. He was the commander of the Green Dragon Army. He had 2 commanders under him. Under the 2 commanders, there were also many guard captains. The person who had questioned Li Zongjio earlier was a guard captain. At this moment, it was the Azure Dragon Guard. Although many people in the Hua family had retired from the Azure Dragon Guard, they still had a strong attachment to the Azure Dragon Guard. There's no other way. We can only fight. Hua Feihong also let out a long sigh. Right now, the Green Dragon Army only had 2 options before them. They could either directly take action and capture Li Zongjio, or report to the imperial court and ask for Emperor Xingyan's military order to capture Li Zongjio. However, it was difficult to understand Emperor Xingyan's temperament. They wanted to protect the reputation of the Hua family. When dealing with Li Zongjio, they would first probe the imperial court's intentions. If there were no problems, they would immediately mobilize their troops and completely capture Li Zongjio. Act first and report later. If they did not make any moves, it would definitely damage the prestige of the Green Dragon Army. However, after the deed was done, someone had to take the blame. After all, the target was the great protector of the nation. If they took him down so easily, it would be a disgrace to the imperial court. Therefore, after killing Li Zongjio, as the commander of the Green Dragon Army, he had no choice but to step down. It was already a great thing to be able to keep his life. Hua Tianjia obviously knew this. If they were to fight Li Zongjio, it would be equivalent to killing 1,000 enemies and sacrificing 800 of their own men. It would be a very tragic outcome. However, this matter concerned the reputation of the Green Dragon Army. They had no choice but to act. Even if Hua Feihong wanted to personally deliver his head, he had to kill Li Zongjio first. If that's the case, what are we waiting for? Hua Third Master was very enthusiastic. Just as the Hua family was ready to make arrangements for their next move, someone shouted loudly in the courtyard, "The imperial edict has arrived." Hua Tianjia and the others exchanged glances. They were obviously quite shocked by the appearance of this matter. Emperor Xingyan obviously had other intentions for issuing an imperial edict at this time. By the will of the heavens, the emperor decrees that the situation in Beichuan has been stabilized. He orders the Green Dragon Army to head to the Nanjiang region and guard the prefecture city in the central plains of Nanjiang. Mobilize the army to Nanjiang. Chapter 1043. Hua Feihong and the others didn't understand what the emperor meant. Why would he send their troops to Nanjiang at this time? Although Nanjiang was a dangerous place, it wasn't too dangerous. There was no need for them to stay in such a place. Emperor Xingyan obviously wanted to send them away at this critical juncture to prevent the Green Dragon Army from clashing with Li Zongjio. Eunuch, what is the meaning of this? Hua Feihong asked in a low voice. Emperor Xingyan was obviously trying to protect Li Zongjio. It was infuriating. Was Hua Ying's death going to be forgotten just like that? General Hua, military orders must be obeyed. I don't think I need to remind you. The old eunuch handed the imperial edict to Hua Tianjia. Then he said to Hua Tianjia, His Majesty also said that Hua Ying's death was his own fault. If the Green Dragon Army isn't disciplined, then it will be the Hua family's responsibility. Farewell. As soon as he said that, the leaders of the Hua family felt a chill run down their spines. After so many years of peace, they had almost forgotten about it. Who was the ruler of this world? Although they were in charge of training the Green Dragon Army, They weren't the Hua family's private army. They couldn't use the name of the Hua family's army. If they did, the emperor would be disgusted. They looked at each other. It seemed that the Green Dragon army had indeed gone astray these days. It might even be because of the Hua family's leadership. They could even imagine that if they attacked Li Zongjiu this time, it was very obvious that they would be completely killed. The entire Hua family might be implicated. Who the hell is this Li Zongjiu? When Li Zongjiu was mentioned, the entire Hua family felt extremely terrified. Li Zongjiu was only one person, but he had almost caused the entire Hua family to fall into eternal damnation. Everyone in the Hua family was silent. It was just an imperial edict, but it was enough to wake them up. The Hua family was nothing special. They were still under the control of the emperor, so they had to stay calm. Otherwise, they would die. On the second day, most of the Hua family's troops had already gathered their men and horses and were heading towards the southern region. After the Green Dragon army left the Sacred Flame Royal City, only half of the Vermilion Bird army was mobilized to guard the Sacred Flame Royal City. One of the captains was probably equivalent to a Chiliarch. The only difference was that each soldier had a different name. One of the captains was even wearing a scarlet suit of armor. Her long black hair was tied into a ponytail and hung down behind her back. A Vermilion Bird sword hung at her waist. This was the standard of a commander of the Vermilion Bird army. When they saw the Vermilion Bird sword, no matter who they were, they had to immediately call them General. The soft armor accentuated the captain's figure. As night fell, they entered the city. The Vermilion Bird army was also very excited about the change in troop movements this time. They had been training in the Incandescent Mountains for so long. They didn't know how long it had been since they had entered the city and enjoyed such a peaceful time. Boss, the wind in the city is too comfortable. I haven't felt such wind in a long time. A muscular and fat man appeared beside the captains. Hee, boss, do you think we're going to be promoted? You better shut your mouth. Good things never come out of your mouth. The chief said straightforwardly. This kind of blunt tone made Iron Pestle scratch his head. She was clearly a slender and elegant girl, but her tone was so impolite. Not only that, she didn't hold back at all when she attacked. Although the chief was a woman, no one could compare to her. However, there weren't many men who could compare to the corporal. This was why Iron Pestle admired the corporal so much. Boss, are you going to look for that person this time? That guy, isn't he that student from the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor? Boss, don't tell me you've fallen in love with that guy. Get lost. Su Mo sent the metal rod flying with a kick. His mouth hadn't been quiet the entire day. Moreover, he hadn't said anything decent. He had long wanted to kick him out. If he didn't teach him a lesson, his mouth wouldn't stop. You lead the team to the encampment first. I'll be back soon. Su Mo said to Iron Pestle, who was kicked away. Tai Chi also flipped over and stood up. He rubbed his buttocks as he agreed. Sir. Watching Iron Pestle leave, Su Mo took a deep breath and walked towards the White Deer Mansion not far away. Su Mo's current strength was all thanks to Li Zongjiu, who gave him a 1,000-year fire glass flower. Although Su Mo hadn't broken through to the Origin Emperor realm, he was incomparably powerful in the army with his 6th-level Origin spirit. Because of this, he was valued by his superiors and focused on grooming him. Now that he was the chief, the next level was the deputy commander. 1st-level commander. Therefore, the person Su Mo wanted to thank the most was naturally Li Zongjiu. Although the army was isolated, it was necessary to know some important news about the imperial court. Therefore, Su Mo also knew that Li Zongjiu was now the imperial protector. He had directly become the imperial tutor. Such a change was extremely inconceivable to Su Mo. Su Mo wasn't even sure if the current Li Zongjiu still remembered him. After all, almost a year had passed. In addition, Li Zongjiu was now in a high position and had achieved extraordinary results. He wasn't a simple student of the Heavenly Star Medicine Mansion anymore. Even the current Li Zongjiu wasn't simple. There wasn't anything strange about it. Su Mo arrived in front of the White Deer Mansion. White Deer Mansion is off-limits to unauthorized personnel. May I know who you are? The guard at the entrance stopped Su Mo. However, seeing that Su Mo's aura wasn't simple and that the people who usually came in and out of the White Deer Mansion weren't simple, his tone was more polite. My name is Su Mo. Please announce that I'm Li Zongjio's friend. Su Mo said. Please wait a moment. Then, a guard went to report that Su Mo was actually a friend of the young master. Usually, the young master didn't have many friends, but even if there weren't many, he still had some. As long as it was related to the young master, he couldn't be careless. Are you General Su Mo? Xiao Zhao walked out of the mansion and welcomed Su Mo in. I am. Su Mo nodded. I'm the housekeeper of the White Deer Mansion. You can call me Xiao Zhao. The young master told me that if General Su Mo comes, please rest for a few days until he comes out of seclusion. Xiao Zhao said. He still remembers me? Chapter 1044. Xiao Zhao smiled faintly. Of course I remember. Su Mo's heart relaxed slightly. Normally, he wasn't so reserved, but when he came to see Li Zongjio, he had a strange feeling. Su Mo wasn't very clear about the reason for the transfer of the army, but he heard that it had something to do with Li Zongjio. However, Su Mo didn't care about this. She had her own judgment about who had saved her life and who had treated her well. It's good that you remember. Sorry, I can't stay for long. There are some things I need to take care of in the army. Since he's still in seclusion, I'll come back next time. Su Mo said straightforwardly. Xiao Zhao didn't stop him. Li Zongjio did tell him to stay, but he didn't tell him to stay. Xiao Zhao only found out that Li Zongjio had a friend in the Vermilion Bird Army after connecting with Li Zongjio. Of course, he couldn't let go of such a good relationship. He sent Su Mo to the door. The transfer of the Green Dragon Army to the Vermilion Bird Army could be considered a new security system. At least in the future, the Green Dragon Army would be able to recognize their position. After being controlled by a family for a long time, they would make such a low-level mistake. They actually wanted to do such a thing. The Hua family thought too highly of themselves. With this departure, most of the relationships that were maintained within the city were also directly severed. The foundation that some people had laid in the past had also completely turned into ashes at this moment. The Vermilion Bird Army was new blood that had just entered the city. It wouldn't be easy to rope them in. As for the city guards, the commander of the city guards was about to retire. The few vice captains below were also getting restless. However, Wang Ding's recent promotion also made the other vice captains not dare to act rashly. Although Wang Ding only had a battalion of soldiers, the battle strength of the Tusk Battalion was unimaginable. The rest of the 6 battalions were beaten down. Every time there was a competition in the army, the Tusk Battalion would have an internal fight in the end. This made people very unhappy. In addition, he had the financial support of Boyu Casino behind him. If they wanted equipment, they had equipment. If they wanted money, they had money. There was almost no doubt that he would become the regiment commander directly. The only thing he lacked was his own qualifications. After all, he had only been the vice regiment commander for a short period of time. If he wanted to become the regiment commander immediately, he would probably encounter a lot of resistance. However, this was nothing to the latter. Now he understood. He had established his prestige in the army. If he, Wang Ding, did not take office, not many people would be convinced. As for Wang Ding, Taifai could take care of him. With the two of them assisting each other, they were able to take care of everything. Basically, there was no problem. For Li Zongjio, the White Deer Mansion's influence in the military had increased by a large margin. Wang Ding's status and strength had increased, but he did not forget Li Zongjio's kindness. If it were not for Li Zongjio, he would not have been able to climb up so quickly. After knowing that Li Zongjio had directly become the protector of the nation, he admired Li Zongjio even more. At the same time, he was even more determined. As long as he followed Li Zongjio, there would definitely be no problems. His future path would be incomparably smooth. He was a better person. In the past, he did not know which idiot was loyal to the 9th prince. Until now, he had not even left his life. Originally, Wang Ding had been very worried that the Hua family of the Green Dragon Army would act against Li Zhongjiu after he heard that Li Zhongjiu had killed Hua Ying. Therefore, he had sent people to keep an eye on the Hua family's movements. This was not a time to joke around. His actions were not only to protect Li Zhongjiu's safety and fulfill his duty, but also to ensure that he would have a better future in the army. Fortunately, there was no real danger. The other party had also been transferred away very quickly. Wang Ding did not know if this was intentional or not. Wang Ding admired Li Zhongjiu very much. Only Li Zhongjiu could do this. He had killed the right commander of the Green Dragon Army and sent these people out of the Sacred Flame Royal City. He really admired Li Zhongjiu. Li Zhongjiu was the only one who could do this. Now that Li Zhongjiu's reputation had spread throughout the Sacred Flame Royal City, everyone knew that Li Zhongjiu had the backing of the royal family. Even the Green Dragon Army had been implicated. This was because a few of his deputy commanders and even the commander knew about Wang Ding's relationship with the White Deer Mansion. Therefore, the next election would be held about 6 months later. Basically, Wang Ding would be the next one. As long as he followed the rules in the city and didn't make any accidents or major mistakes, there wouldn't be any problems. The position of commander of the city guards of the Sacred Flame Royal City was not a position that ordinary people could hold. Even Wang Ding felt like he was dreaming. He had never thought that he would have the opportunity to reach such a high position. However, I still have to find some time to visit the young master. This matter can only succeed with the young master's support. In order to secure this position, Wang Ding had to visit Li Zhongjiu. They had not seen each other for a long time. Although he had become more familiar with Tai Fai and the others these days, he could not be too distant from Li Zhongjiu. However, he couldn't become estranged in front of Li Zhongjiu. Otherwise, Li Zhongjiu would casually find someone to replace him. It was an extremely normal thing. White Deer Mansion. Li Zhongjiu had come out of seclusion. In fact, it was not considered seclusion. It was just that the time he took to cultivate was slightly longer. In addition, Li Zhongjiu was usually comprehending holy stage yuan skills. Of course, it would take more time. When he heard Xiao Zhao say that Su Mo from the Vermilion Bird Army had come to find him, Li Zhongjiu quickly recalled that the girl he had met at Sky Blaze Mountain could be considered a friend of life and death. In any case, Li Zhongjiu had saved Su Mo many times. Furthermore, he had given the fire glass flower to Su Mo. If Su Mo could grasp this opportunity, he would definitely be able to make a name for himself. Naturally, he would be able to work together with Li Zhongjiu. He has already been promoted to captain? Li Zhongjiu was slightly surprised. To be able to become a captain in the Vermilion Bird Army in a year was already a very good result. Some of the seeds that had been planted back then had already bloomed and were about to bear fruit. The next time he comes, just call for me directly. Li Zhongjiu said. He quite liked Su Mo's character. Otherwise, he would not have given Su Mo such a good opportunity to change his fate. In fact, it was Li Zhongjiu's kindness. Chapter 1045. The competition between the princes in the city for the position of crown prince didn't show any signs of weakening. However, the flames of war hadn't spread to Li Zhongjiu yet. Therefore, the White Deer Mansion had been extremely quiet recently. They didn't pay attention to the disputes in the city and didn't participate. However, news of the Eagle warship had gradually spread. The production of the first generation of the warship had officially started. The production factory was located in the mountain behind the White Deer Mansion. A workshop had been set up there. Many large financial groups and merchant alliances, after hearing of this matter, hurriedly brought large sums of money, saying that they wanted to invest in the White Deer residence and provide some assistance in the production of the Eagle battleship. However, the White Deer Mansion rejected these wealthy financial groups and announced a three-way cooperation with the Song family's Song Jiyu and the Qi family. The Zheng family was also given a name. After all, the Zheng family was weak. If it hadn't been for Li Zhongjiu's conscience, he would have swallowed the Zheng family up long ago. Li Zhongjiu didn't need to do this. If he was so short-sighted, how could he achieve great things in the future? The appearance of the Eagle warship had even alarmed the royal family's celestial workshop. The Celestial Workshop was the dynasty's weapons research institute. Some new heavy weapons had also come from the Celestial Workshop and were far ahead of the rest. However, the weapons that had been released and announced were only those that had been eliminated. The truly top-notch weapons had always been hidden in the depths of the Celestial Workshop. They would only be taken out at the most critical juncture. The Celestial Workshop had specially sent a master to the White Deer Mansion to consult and research. Li Zongjio had also named the newly established workshop the 100 Ghosts Workshop. It meant the 100 Ghosts Craftsman. The 100 Ghosts Craftsman was also a very powerful figure in the legends. It was said that when he forged weapons, it was as if thousands of ghosts were helping him. He could unleash astonishing power. When Li Zongjio's 100 Ghosts Square was able to create such powerful weapons, it would naturally become famous all over the world. At that time, some of the best weapons would also be created by Li Zongjio's 100 Ghosts Square. Currently, Li Zongjio's White Deer Mansion had several organizations set up. First was the Housekeeper's Office. The Housekeeper's Office was independently recruited by Xiao Zhao. They were mainly bookkeepers, and there were also some risk calculation and cost control. Simply put, they were there to help the White Deer Mansion make money and spend it. The second was the Office of Advisors. Some of the guest officials, aides, and Jianghu experts were all considered as part of the Office of Advisors. Currently, they were also managed by Xiao Zhao. The third was the Office of Guards. The work of the guards in the mansion was handed over to the Office of Guards. The person in charge was Liu Pei. The soldiers who had retired from the Tusk Battalion were directly trained here to protect the White Deer Mansion. They originally thought that after leaving the Tusk Battalion, they would lose the opportunity to become soldiers. Who would have thought that Li Zongjio would change and become the Imperial Tutor? After the Imperial Tutor was conferred the title, he had the right to train 5,000 private soldiers. Therefore, these guards became soldiers again and had their military ranks again. Even the ordinary army had no binding effect on them. Not only were they a private army, but they were also subordinates of the state preceptor. As for the Imperial Tutor, only Emperor Xingyan or the joint consent of all the officials could punish him. Therefore, even if the city guards or other armies wanted to charge into the White Deer Mansion, they had enough status to block them outside. They were that unyielding, unless they had an imperial edict in their hands. Li Zongjio was currently in the limelight. As long as he didn't commit any treason, there wouldn't be any problems. There were also the 1,000 Machine Workshop, Elemental Beast Workshop, and Ghost Doctor Workshop that were transferred from Qingyuan Villa. The 1,000 Machine Workshop had always been helping the White Deer Mansion to collect information. In addition, the Elemental Beast Workshop also helped Li Zongjio raise the elemental beasts in the back mountain. They also recruited some disciples and taught them the art of taming beasts. Recently, they were also training a group of brave and valiant wasteland wolves. They were expected to be assigned to the Office of Guards. In this way, they would definitely be able to create an army that would cause people to tremble at the mere mention of their name. The third prince had made a move against Li Zongjio many times. Moreover, the announcement of the crown prince's position was also imminent. Soon it would be time to count all the troops. The third prince's overall strength was currently in the lead. But to truly become the crown prince, he had to push his own people into the position of the city guards. The city guards had to have the people in their hands. Because of the adjustment of the Green Dragon army, the third prince was somewhat surprised. Originally, he was almost done negotiating with the Hua family. However, who knew that the Hua family would be directly deployed? This made the third prince want to cry but have no tears. At this moment, he naturally didn't have time to deal with the Vermilion Bird army. Therefore, he could only set his sights on the city guards. One of the vice commanders of the city guards was discussing this matter with the third prince. This vice commander was called Yuan Mashan.